Konnichiwa, welcome to the sixth round of the 2020 eTeam BRIT GT3 Challenge and SYNETIQ BMW Series, being held here at the iconic Fuji International Speedway. Alex Goldschmidt and David Christie in the commentary box once again. Good evening, David. How are you?
I am very, very well, Alex. How on earth are you?
Yes, this time broadcasting from elsewhere in Europe. In Germany this time, so it's been...
guten Abend!
Yeah, guten Abend, mein Herr. Wie geht's? Yeah, so for those wondering about the series so far, we've had 5 incredible races. Obviously, we had Adria last time out, which was an hour dogfight between Matt Richards and Chris Butcher, with Chris Butcher taking the win. But here at Fuji, David, we were talking about this in the preview show, a very, very different set of circumstances. And for those seeing, you can see the changes in elevation that the drivers are going to have to contend with. We've got a few drivers that aren't able to make it this evening. Joey Vrolijk has had a family emergency, so he has said to me that he will be back for Dubai. We've got 3 in the SYNETIQ BMW Series. Now, we were talking about the fact that Christian Kelly really needs to make an indent. Unfortunately, he's not here with us this evening, so it gives Martin Buchan an opportunity to strike whilst the iron's hot, and he's got 5 in a row already. If he gets number 6, he's got one hand on that title for the SYNETIQ BMW Series.
I think that's very, very understated to say that Christian Kelly needed to be here and needed to get a result in on the board, given that they were only trading 1 or 2 points here and there. With that gap the way it is, and with the gap potentially being extended tonight, I think Martin Buchan is as good as champion tonight.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, that Dubai will pretty much secure the crown, and this is where it pretty much makes him de facto champion after the effort that he's put in. But we still got a good battle for, what could effectively be second place, because both Louis Stewart and Ben Hetherington are back with us again. But I've heard some whispers that there could be more exciting things to come, possibly for our final 2 rounds at Dubai. Hopefully, once we have that all confirmed, things will be announced in due course. But we do have another super sub in place of John Munro. We have Jonas Raivio, who's 26 years young. He's a mechanical engineering student. He'll be piloting the number 33. I see that Ross McGregor, I haven't seen, is with us here this evening. But Jonas has been racing, he was season 12 GTE champion for the VEC. He's also been competing in the R Factor 2 GT Pro Championship. He's done the GP VWC. He was a runner-up last year. So a lot of credentials there. And I think really Jonas could do a really good favour here for Marlow Watch Company Racing, because it's still pretty close at the top of the standings. I mean, you look at it, and it's effectively you got 207 for Zansho Simsport, IMB Vod Racing, who have just got Chris Butcher here with us this evening. Marlow Watch Company Racing 178, so they're only 12 points behind. So it depends on what happens during this race, David, of how things might transpire with how things work out here at Fuji.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of permutations to be worked out, but all we do know is that any super sub for John Munro has got some pretty big shoes to fill. We saw last week a wonderful, wonderful substitution for John, and this week I think we're going to get more of the same. But what a fantastic circuit we're at this week. Fuji Speedway, 2.82 miles, some wonderful corners that we're going to go into very, very shortly, but it's difficult to look past last week at Adria.
Well, with that being said, let's head to the highlights for round 5, last time out, this time last week at Adria International Raceway. That was a belter. Heading towards Ramata for the very first time. Who will be the first one to jump and get the whole shot ahead of the rest of the field? You can just see it's a dogfight between these two. And now we go, looks like we've gone green, and looks like there was a bit of hesitation from first Richards and then Butcher as they head into Ramata for the first time. As handover up the inside of McGregor through into P3. Vrolijk And Max Spooner has absolutely launched that Aston Martin into the stratosphere, and he's up into P7. Yeah, very, very true. Very, very true indeed. It's Bradley Brocky's. Oh, now has a little bit of a moment, touches the side of Daniel Hyde, and there is Daniel Handover and Sandro Ballesteros. So it's fast becoming what will be a broadcast track for P6. Hyde now tries to get up the inside, goes through on Hetherington with Jordan, who's now back up into P3. Rockies, Handover, and Ballesteros are going to have to try and get through very, very quickly, and that nearly compromises Handover in the process. Ben Hetherington gets out of the way, has to go onto the grass to avoid. And Anthony Jordan decides to take the runoff area through Delgado in order to get out of the way, just to let them go through. Pit stop window now open. Pit stop window now open. And that is going into Cavanella, and he's run really, really wide. He's just left the door wide open. Lewis McLeod has gone, thank you very much, but then Spooner tries to get the run on him, going down to Don Antino, and again down to the hairpin. He's done a near on what you see at Rettifilia chicane at Monza. He nigh on straight lined it.
Well,
what is going on? What is going on? I am absolutely shell-shocked.
Right, Alex, get on the phone. We need to get some stopwatch sponsors for the championship.
No. But, oh no, you've got to be kidding me. You know they say that lightning never strikes twice. Joey Vrolijk has just done 24.2. Here is Matt Richards, as they have got a back marker, and this time it is a GT3 car.
That's Bradley Brocky's. Oh my goodness me, what a dive through up the inside. Now it's going to cost him dearly round the outside. Tries to go Matt Richards, and all hell, like I promised, is breaking loose. How the heck they got through that without any sort of damage whatsoever, I will never know, Alex.
can happen between these two. Sean King up the inside of Max Spooner there.
I'm not going to lie, I am absolutely loving it. So great move there. That's Max Spooner, I think, is actually taking the place from Sean King there. That was what it was on the last lap round. Is Sean King going to try and outbrake him into turn 1? And not going to happen. Max Spooner looks like he's going to take that place. Yeah, it's been a difficult one, but it doesn't matter. It still takes some good points away from the night.
They come through De La Fonte, the winning streak of Matt Richards. Will it be broken? He cowers out of the final corner. And in the GT3 Challenge, it's IMB Vod Racing's Chris Butcher that wins here after what was an hour of spectacular dueling between him and Matt Richards being covered. Split it by just over 0.4 of a second. It's 5 for 5 for the number 35 in the SYNETIQ BMW Series, and he's going to win by over 41 seconds ahead of Louis Stewart. Well, David, that was a pretty exciting race back at Adria just a week ago, and I'm really looking forward to what's going to be in store this evening at Fuji. I mean, it's an iconic circuit, 60 minutes of racing, and drivers are still sort of getting to grips with the circuit. But we had a chat about the mechanical side of the engines, that they're going to have to breathe a little bit sharper this very evening because of the amount of oxygen that normally will flood through into an engine, especially a turbocharged one. That's going to make a bit of the difference, including the elevation changes.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to make a big difference into the peak performance that the engine can put out onto the track. It's also going to affect the longevity of the stints that the drivers do. Remember, with it being an hour stint and they're having to make a pit stop during the race, strategy is going to be a massive factor in tonight's race. And one of the words that you used was that it's going to be an absolute belter. I'll go even further and use a Scottish colloquialism and say it's going to be an absolute banger tonight. We are guaranteed for fireworks. A lot of the names that we would normally see for the championship are still to make their way in.
Very, very much the case. But I think before we get things really underway here at Fuji International Speedway, let's have a look at the entries for tonight's race. So first up, we go to GT3. Matt Richards and Daniel Handover, once again in the McLaren and the Aston Martin. Daniel Hyde running solo for Cadan Casual Apex. Chris Butcher also running solo for IMB Vod Racing, just 17 points behind the 44. Sandro Ballesteros and Bradley Brockes have consummately improved all the way through the season so far in the pair of 720S GT3s. So Max Spooner is back with us. Yunus Ravio in the sole Marlow Watch Company racing car, it looks like. Ross McGregor, I think, is not taking part this evening. I haven't seen him pop up in the Discord server or anything like that. Mark Lanau, we haven't heard from our friend over in Australia, so I'm wondering whether he's got other things on his plate at the minute. And Joey Vrolijk, unfortunately, is going to be not with us this evening due to a family emergency that needs to be sorted, so which is fair enough. Out of the 5 cars that you see on your screen, Ben Hetherington, Louis Stewart, and the number 35 and Martin Buchan are on the grid for this evening. Okay, it might be a small grid, David, but that's not going to detract away from what action we could have in store.
Well, do you want the good news, Alex? I don't know what timing screen you're looking at the moment, but I can assure you Ross McGregor is in on the server.
Brilliant.
He is showing up and he's on track. So the Marlow Watch Company team have got a fully fighting fit squad going on right now.
That's absolutely brilliant news. Fantastic to hear. So Ross McGregor looking to bounce back from 2 DNFs, one at Le Mans, one last time out at Adria, retiring from both races from suspension damage. But I think we might have to have a little chat with somebody. Let's see if we can drag in the sole. Well, let's have a look at the standings first of all. Matt Richards leading on 207. Chris Butcher 17 points behind. Joey Vrolijk and John Munro could be eclipsed by Daniel Handover this evening, as well as Sandro Ballesteros, Bobby Trundley, racing at the Teesside 24 Hours. But good evening, Team Texaco's hotshot, the man that did, I think, one of the best overtakes at Adria, and he's also leading the Simply Race Mosens. Max Spooner, good evening.
Good evening. I tell you what, doing that move, I was bouncing up in the seat, making all sorts of squealy noises that I'm not proud of.
Well, at least you come clean about that, Max. But all things aside, you know, the Aston has come in, you know, leaps and bounds. And I think the words that I use, that you'd literally shot that Aston Martin into the stratosphere, because by the end of lap 1, you were P7 from P11. And then to get a 5th place, and we were messaging each other privately on Discord, and you were like, yeah, get in. I mean, you were absolutely chuffed to bits, mate.
Yeah, you know, I think it was a case of maximising, you know, what we could out of the race. I think, you know, I was able to take advantage of some of the misfortune of those around me, and I made up some places as a result. But I think, you know, there's still a lot of work to do. You know, the car isn't quite where I want it to be at this moment in time, and being a sole entry, you know, when my fellow eTeam BRIT and Team BRIT teammates are in the McLaren and I'm out there on my own in the Aston, it does make it that little bit more challenging. But I think, you know, again, you know, stick to the same tactic that I always do, and I should be in for a good race and a good haul of points.
Well, I think one of the terms that you used, I'm not going to repeat part of it because it's unbroadcastable at this time of night, but you said, I really need to up my game on qualifying. And I completely agree. It's not been easy, you having to switch from the 720 that you would normally possibly run in, but then to go into an Aston Martin, a completely different beast altogether. But you seem to manhandle it really, really well at Adria. And that sort of gave us the two sides of extremes, didn't it? You know, Le Mans 13.6 kilometres, and then you go to Adria, and it's a whisker over 3.
Yeah, and I think with that one, it was a case of, you know, just getting the car, just feeling comfortable, just making sure it was consistent. And I think maybe, you know, I was maybe a bit unorthodox with my setup approach compared to those around me, but I think that it certainly helped in the race. Certainly when I was going wheel to wheel. You know, I just had more traction coming out corners that I think helped. So yeah, Fuji's going to be a different challenge. Still experimenting with a couple of bits still, so hopefully we could go into qualifying with a better understanding what the car's doing, and then hopefully more of the same, try and climb up the field and chase the Mosens, which I think is really where my focus has got to be now, is trying to get those overtakes done.
And if you can pull belters like that round the outside of someone, maybe say at 300R, I think you'll be absolutely laughing your way to that prize at the end of the season. But looking back on the championship so far from your own personal perspective, what have you thought of the action? I know that you're busy behind the wheel normally, but then to see like the highlights and the hot laps and all that kind of stuff, how impressed are you with the sort of like the strength of competition that we've got in this series?
Well, when you consider that we've got drivers in this championship that have competed in some of the biggest sim racing events in the world, I think that really says what kind of level we're at with this championship, and also with Team BRIT and the level I've put, you know, two of my drivers into. You know, between them, they have, you know, less than 30 years between them. So I think, you know, I was watching back Adria and just seeing, you know, the Vodball racing and the Zansho cars just like going at each other for the whole race. You know, it was just I enjoyed watching it, and sort of like I knew what was happening, you know, and so yeah, I think if anybody, you know, wants to come and join us, you know, we're looking at running this again. So you know, I would encourage more people come and join us. The racing is really good, really exciting up and down the field. You know, you don't have to be the fastest driver. You know, we have some great prizes up for grabs, and I think, you know, looking at who's won prizes so far, you know, it's a fantastic opportunity. Great quality broadcasts, great commentary team. So yeah, come and join us. It's great fun.
I do like the latter part, wouldn't you agree, David?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic effort so far for Max. And one of the things as well is, Max, see, last time out at Adria, I can assure you were not the only one jumping out up and down in your seat when you pulled that move. To be honest, I wasn't sure you were going to pull it off, and when you did it, I'm glad I wasn't on air when I did.
I was just closing him in, and I was like, oh, I've got to pass him now. And it was like just trying to find your moment. And I think I was coming up to a couple of the BMWs, and I thought I really got caught up with them, and I thought the moment had gone. And then I just clawed it back, just patient with it, and yeah, the opportunity came my way, and I had to work for it. But once I got it done, I thought that's gonna look so good.
And it does look very good on the highlights as well, and also on the GT Challenge preview show. I made sure it got included in the introduction and the outro as well. So you got a triple whammy there, mate.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll make a few more moves like that, and we'll have more highlights to look back on over at this race.
Definitely. Well, Max Spooner from Team Texaco, all the very best of luck this evening here at Fuji.
Thank you very much.
Right. Well, we filled a little bit of time, but before we get into qualifying, let's have a look at a hot lap around here at Fuji Speedway. 2.835 miles, 4.563 kilometers, and it is a true tough test here in Japan.
Konnichiwa and welcome to Fuji Speedway. Heading to turn 1, 2.835 miles, down all the way from 6th at 265 through Daiichi. Turn 1, first gear, 85 kilometers an hour, through the right at turn 2 as you make the approach to Coca-Cola Corner. Turn 3, a tight left-hander, down from 4th at 215 Ks, all the way down to 3rd at 145 on the speedometer. Now through turns 4, into 100R, and through the right at 5 at 3rd gear at 170 kilometers an hour. Short blast up to T6, known as hairpin, the left-hander, braking from 65 metres out from 3rd down to 2nd at 105 kilometers an hour on the apex. Through into the left at turn 7. Now things get a bit more quickly here. Turn 8. Turn 9 on the approach to 300R. 5th gear, 225 kilometers an hour. And then you head into Dunlop, turn 10, braking from 5th down to 1st, all the way down to 60 kph. Through turn 11 at 85, up to 2nd, through turn 12 at 123 kilometers an hour. Get off the power a little bit and put on the brakes at turn 13, right-hander into turn 14, the left at the 2nd gear, 135. Into the left at next corner, turn 15, 85 kilometers an hour on the speedo, 2nd gear, now up to Panasonic corner, the 16th and final turn. Again, the same speed, 2nd gear, going a bit over the curves there at 85 kilometers an hour. Down the the main straightaway as you're going to pull 3rd, up to 4th. Speed is increasing, over 200 kilometers an hour. You're going to head towards the start-finish line. And the driver will cross the line at 250 kph at around about a 1 minute 43.341.
So you've just seen not just the hot lap side of things, but also the Team Brit hand controls, and also the announcement that everyone has been waiting for, the Simply Race British Championships get underway. So we are about to get underway very, very shortly with qualifying, and the green flag has now waved. 30 minutes start ticking away. And David, you mentioned about Ross McGregor being on the timing screens. Is there anybody else that might be on there as well that I might have missed?
Let's have a look here. No, the only one that has disappeared during the practice session there, and I'm a little bit concerned, Alex, is Chris Butcher. Chris Butcher was in the practice, but has now left and is not here for qualifying.
Oh, that's taken a rather dramatic turn there. Hopefully he can rejoin as soon as possible, because at the end of the day, he'll be on the back foot and he'll be starting from stone dead last if he manages to get in. So 30 minutes of qualifying for all our competitors from the GT3 Challenge and the SYNETIQ BMW Series. Just looking at some of the angles we're getting here, David, I mean, you can just see how fearsome this track truly is as Daniel Handover gets a little bit squirrely, and that is going through turns 11 and 12. Kicks up a little bit of dirt there.
Panic over. Chris Butcher has decided to. He must have been off to the toilet on the virtual circuit somewhere in a porta potty. He's back.
What is he? Is he doing a Nico Hulkenberg before going?
I think that's what it is. Let's hope that Nico actually gets a race this weekend. But
yes.
Panic over. Chris Butcher is back. So you were just mentioned there. Does that mean he doesn't get to take part in qualifying then?
Who's that? Chris Butcher?
Chris Butcher. If he does, so he is back, so he can join qualifying at any time.
Yeah, he can join. He can join qualifying at any time. But I just thought that if he had any technical issues that could have scuppered
thrown him to the back.
Yeah. So, and the first person that has yet to emerge, I think, looks to be Max Spooner as Daniel Handover going down the hill after negotiating the likes of Daiichi, and then they'll come up to the left at turn 3 for Coca-Cola Corner. And he's behind one of the Marlowe Watch Company racing cars. Is that the 3 or the 33 there? Can't really make out at the moment, but Ross McGregor goes purple in sector 1. So it was Ross McGregor up ahead in the number 3. He's done a 21.731 in the first sector. Now through 300R. It's a very, very tricky double right there. And you can just see that the back end nearly trying to step out there. So... yeah, it's going to be quite interesting in this qualifying session because you can just see the amount of camber, the amount of undulation. It's not easy, as you found out on the hot lap, David.
Yeah, not easy to put it very, very lightly indeed. The thing is it's not only that on one lap, but it's to do that over an entire hour. It takes an untold toll on the car, on the tyres. And, you know, one lap is difficult enough. Goodness knows how long this hour is going to feel for these drivers.
Well, if you want to find where the live timing is, as Sandro Ballesteros goes on and out, looks to be starting his hot lap here in the number 19 eTeam BRIT McLaren 720S GT3. Head to eteambrit.liveraces.com and that'll put you straight through, as the first lap time to go in is from Jonas Raivio, a 1:55.603 in the 33. Max Spooner has decided discretion is the better part of valor at the moment. He's staying in the pits. Chris Butcher, I think, has escaped to get into the pits. And Martin Buchan and Louis Stewart currently out on circuit in the SYNETIQ BMWs, with Ben Hetherington, the only competitor, due to his disability, is the only one using a controller here. There's a bit of a run wide there by Sandro Ballesteros. He's really hustling that McLaren, isn't he?
Yeah, he's thrown it to within an inch of its life. Just to clarify something you said there, Alex, as well, it was actually a 1:35 that Jonas Raivio has done to take provisional pole at the moment. Matt Richards currently second place, 1:35.8. Daniel Handover 1:36.1. Ross McGregor 1:36.3, and then it's down to Daniel Hyde in fifth with a 1:38.8.
Okay, well, we did mention about the Corvette in the preview show. Okay, we know that Daniel Hyde has also improved in some way through the last few races, and obviously Adria, I think, was probably his strongest showing so far. But you can't count out the likes of Sandro Ballesteros. I mean, he's going to come across the line now. He'll be pushing around 250 kilometres now. He goes P5 on a 1 minute 38.361. 25 minutes of the session remaining. There's Louis Stewart in the green machine, number 13. And he's done a 1 minute 48.776. So he's actually keeping Martin Buchan pretty honest in this qualifying session. But we know the capability that Martin Buchan has to just literally put a hot lap in and go, yep, there you go. See if you can match that one or even beat it, boys.
Yeah, it won't be this lap round for Martin Buchan because he's sliding the back ends of that SYNETIQ BMW all around the place. All you need to do is put on some Eurobeat and would make a little movie about him. But Louis Stewart has been fantastic in the way that he's developed his pace. I mean, at the moment, he's only about 0.8 of a second behind Martin Buchan. So we obviously mentioned about the SYNETIQ BMW Championship and the fact that we're missing Christian Kelly this weekend, but this could be huge for Louis and could very well put him up into second place.
Yeah, I think you're very true with that one. But, Louis Stewart has done really, really well. We've got a bit of a replay here, as that is Daniel Hyde. Oh, a little bit of a tussle there with one of the Marlow Aston Martins. Who was that? But I think he was trying to go around towards the outside, and the Aston decided to go, oh, right, I'm going up the inside. And Dan Hyde, unfortunately, was the recipient of an incident that he didn't really, really want. And speaking of Martin Buchan here, David, he's a little bit slower on the first sector, just over a tenth down. But yeah, it could have been Martin Buchan Fuji Drift if you were putting some Eurobeat music on and him getting the back end of that BMW sideways, as it nearly happens there.
Yeah, sing it with me, Alex. Gas, gas, gas. Do you like that? That's my knowledge of Eurobeat just gone right there. So we'll not talk about it again.
Yes, I think don't give up the day job, Christy. Come on. 23 minutes still to go in the session, and it's. I think it's going to be quite interesting how we've got 9 GT3 cars. We've got 3 SYNETIQ BMWs. Okay, we've got a 12-car grid. But everything's looking pretty good for both. Look at Chris Butcher. He's just put in a 135.149 as again Martin Buchan puts the back end of the 35 bright pink machine sideways, and he's using every single opportunity that he can. And the BMW really seems to be a bit well planted here. Ravio set the pace, but then Chris Butcher is now starting to really, really have a good go at it in the M6.
Yeah, and there's not all that long left to go. I mean, just over 20 minutes left to go in qualifying. So, really, you want to get your laps out of the way and start seeing the ace cards from all the other drivers. So, a great showing to start off with from Eunice Ravio. And, as someone who's never heard of him before from myself, I'm really interested to see how he's going to hold up tonight.
Yeah, very, very much the case. As Jonas Ravio goes quickest in the first sector, he's gone purple, and he's up by over a tenth. So the number 33 doing a very good job. Personal best in sector 2, gets a little bit haberdashery there through turn number 10, but manages to keep it together through, as he's now going to go through into turn 13, into the right at 14, very, very shortly. So Ravio, I think, is the one that really could put a bit of a warning shot across the bow in terms of the team's championship. Okay, he's going to score points because he's replacing John Munro, but the way that Aston Martin looks to be running at the moment, it's pretty good. He's going to come down this incredibly long main straightaway. They're going to push over 250 kilometers an hour. He's going to cross the line now and goes second with a 1 minute 35.440. Chris Butcher's back out on another outlap. So I think Ravio is going to, if he's going to be this competitive, I think we could see a 3-way scrap for the lead in this race, and that could really change things altogether. Oh, Chris Butcher has a bit of a moment there. Whoops. Manages to get off the grass pretty quickly. Max Spooner now goes across the line, goes P8, 1 minute 39.277. And Spooner has said, as he admitted in that pre-qualifying interview there, David, that he'd like to be in the McLaren as much as he'd want to be, but he's got to stick with the Aston Martin for the entire season. But even with this car, he has still improved as time has gone by.
Yeah, he certainly has. It's one of the recurring things that we've seen throughout this championship, Alex, is the drivers. I always tend to come back to our Freddie Hunt, our good friend that is served with us for the first 4 races. And, you know, for me, I find it really, really inspirational for maybe someone that hadn't ever done competitive sim racing before or done sim racing full stop, to watch him coming into the championship really struggling, and I mean really badly struggling for the first 2 rounds, several seconds a lap off the pace, and then by round 3, round 4, he was a real contender to get up into the top 10 with a lot of really good strong drives. And it's one of those great things that you get to see the same names every single week. Obviously, we've got another championship that we commentate on, and it's one of those wonderful things where you see these same names coming up time and time again, Alex, and you get to see them not only improve their own skill but their awareness of the other drivers, and that's what I find fascinating. It's almost like they can second guess what the other drivers are going to do now because they've had so many weeks together.
And plus also the fact that you can look into a situation quite convincingly and use your experience from other championships, as Martin has done, and he's been unassailable. Bradley Brockies, our DAF driver of the day last time out at Adria, he is currently running, he's 9th out of everybody, but he's improved. He's done a personal best, as we've had a quick yellow in Sector 1. He's done a personal best in Sector 2. And both he and Sandro Ballesteros up to P6 at the moment, behind Ross McGregor. What's the differential between the 3 and the 19 at the moment in terms of the qualifying lap time?
Let me just double check that for you. Which one's the 19? Because I don't have that on the screen. Is that?
Yeah, Sandro. No, that's Sandro Ballesteros in the 19 eTeam BRIT McLaren, and then you've got Ross McGregor.
Difference between those two is 1.1 seconds at the moment. So Ross did a 1:36.3 and Sandro's doing a 1:37.514.
Okay, so still a bit of time for Sandro Ballesteros to find, but Ross McGregor's improved in Sector 2. He's running P5 at the moment. So with 17 minutes and 45 seconds of qualifying still to go, Butcher leads the way, Raivio in second, Richards in third, Handover, McGregor rounding out the top 5 ahead of Ballesteros, Brockies, Hyde and Max Spooner. Meanwhile, in the SYNETIQ BMWs, Martin Buchan leads the way ahead of Louis Stewart and Ben Hetherington. Has Stewart improved in the meantime, has he?
No, he's not. He's been consistently around about the same time. Mostly as I'm watching him.
Oh, he's just gone off.
Yeah,
he's just gone off behind Daniel Handover.
Yeah, he was in front of one of the GT3 cars, and I think he found out that he was maybe wanting to get out of the way very quickly. So he's back to pit lane. I think we'll see him back out very quickly. But he's not improved, but he is keeping quite stable with those lap times. So it's good to see that he's got a consistent pace around here. Whereas Martin Buchan looks to be a little bit faster, Alex, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing with the way that BMW, the rear end's spinning out.
Yeah, it can be quite deceptive when the back end of the vehicle breaks traction, especially if it's into a high commitment corner. That's where the difference lies with a driver that can catch it, and then you've got a driver that is still learning as they go along and still trying to find out the nuances, the idiosyncrasies, and sometimes they are more than just subtle. They can bite back pretty quickly, as Daniel Handover has a little bit of a moment there. There's Matt Richards still rounding out the top 3. His personal best, a 1:35.759, and that puts him just over 0.6 of a second off of Butcher. So Butcher's done a really good job to sort of strike whilst the iron is hot and get a good banker lap in. How's Raivio doing at the moment?
Raivio is still in second place at the moment, 1:35.4. He's fairly consistent with the lap times, but again, I think in the last 10 minutes you're going to see him just push all out to get this. Interesting championship connotation for the current qualifying just now as well, with your championship leader Richards behind Eunice Raivio and Chris Butcher. That is going to be more points that he's going to lose out to Chris Butcher, and Chris Butcher is going to be absolutely loving this right now, having potentially an unorthodox wingman to help him out against his fight with Matt Richards.
Yeah. definitely the case. Oh, Rivio in this having a bit of a pirouette moment in the Aston Martin there, and he hits escape rather quickly to put himself back in the pit. So Matt Richards now going to try and see if he can claw back some of that 0.6 of a second disadvantage that he's got between himself and Chris Butcher, with Rivio stuck in the middle. So it's an Aston Martin meeting the BMW and McLaren sandwich, if you will, here in Japan. It sounds like if you added a bit of rice and some seaweed wrap, you'd have a sushi roll there, wouldn't you, with Rivio being the filling in the middle.
I'm not sure Eunice Rivio is going to take too kindly to being called the filling in a sushi roll, but I get your analogy it's actually quite appropriate given where we are. But I mean, the thing is that no discredit obviously to Eunice Rivio. I think he's going to be a real firecracker in this one. I think he's going to be able to hold his own. He's only 0.2 of a second, 0.3 off of Chris Butcher, and we've seen in Adria last week how impatient Matt Richards can be. So I think game on tonight.
Yes, I think it's what is it? Ding ding, round 6. With Rivio being the, in the words of Street Fighter 2, obviously a popular game from these shores via Capcom. Here comes a new challenger, as the words that I'm looking for there. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting how Rivio might improve during the race, and whether he can get in between Butcher and Richards, or even steal a march on them on the start. Because if he's that accomplished, that would really make for some dynamite racing action in the land of the rising sun.
Well, we've just said it, and Matt Richards has just dethroned Eunice Rivio from that second position. Matt Richards now jumps up into second, 1:35.296 with just 13 minutes left to go, and I don't think Eunice is going to take that one lying down. This is going to be quite interesting, this final 10 minutes.
What's the difference between Richards and Butcher now in terms of the distance? Well, the amount of time between them in terms of the pure lap pace they've been setting in qualifying.
0.1 of a second, 0.147.
Mamma mia! That's really, really changed. I think Chris Butcher knows it, because even with 12 minutes and 49 seconds of this session still to go, there is still time for the track to evolve, as Butcher catches that slide nice and neatly, but that has really sort of thrown us a spanner in the works, reference this lap, because what he's now got to do is just try and compose himself, get back and focused and put the old blinkers on, and then just go for it and see what happens. And obviously we've seen for the for how things carry on. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, 10 minutes left to go, and I think we're talking about bragging rights more than anything else for the qualifying tonight. Eunice is absolutely taking it, and I'm just seeing one of the cars going off very wide. I think that was Sandro Ballesteros just going a little bit wide. I'm trying to ID what part of the track that was at. I think that was just at Coca-Cola Corner there. But yeah, awesome stuff, and I'm so excited for tonight's race, Alex. How about you?
Oh, I think, as I said, it's going to blow the bloody doors off, and I'm not kidding with the way things are going in qualifying at the moment. Just over 11 and a half minutes left. Sandro Ballesteros looking to try and improve on his 1:37.514, currently rounding out the top 6, with teammate Bradley Brocky's happening. We're trying to see if he can... what's the gap between the two teammates at eTeam BRIT?
That is about 0.7 of a second between Ballesteros and Brocky's. Yes,
so it could be quite equal between these two. And, you know, when you look at the standings between the two of them, they are only separated by 7 points. But with the IMSA style point scoring system that we have, it's going to be... I think it's going to be one of those... rivalries. Even though they are teammates, they will want to battle tooth and nail, and we saw them having a great scrap in the latter stages of the race at Adria. Well, actually, they were nigh on sort of pushing each other on and trying to move forward, and at the end of it, Bradley Brocky's, I think, came up ahead of Sandro Ballesteros, if memory serves me correctly from last time. Here's Eunice Rivio on another outlap. Let's see if 26-year-old can get things a little bit more composed this time around. Looks a bit smoother here, but this is the outlap, so he's gearing up for a proper full-on flyer. And just by looking at the rubber on the racing line, especially going through those corners that Ravio was just negotiating his way through, Chris Butcher, goes sub 135, a 134.983. That increases the gap to over a quarter of a second, if I'm very much mistaken, David. That's a brilliant lap there by Chris Butcher to try and claw the gap to Matt Richards in terms of the point standings, because the drivers in this session, they get pole position, they get a point on their scores for this season.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a cracking lap there from Chris Butcher. Matt Richards is going to go across the line and start his flying lap just now. Eunice Drivio, I don't know if he's changed something on the car or he's made a config tweak or something, but he's looking very, very unsettled in that car just now. Really pushing it, I think, a little bit more than it needs to be done right now, but we'll see what happens. He's just about to start his qualifying lap just now. Matt Richards pulls out of his qualifying lap. He's back into pit lane just now.
And Louis Stewart's improved. No, he hasn't improved. He was 3/10 off of his best lap time so far, but an improvement in Sector 2 means that Stewart is pushing the envelope and the limits of adhesion in that car. We go on board with Jonas Ravio down into Daiichi, the first corner. Down. So let's keep on board with the number 33 at the moment. So we're going to head through into turn 2, now into the left-hander at Coca-Cola corner. Down from 5th into 3rd, and you can just see how much he's wrestling with the back end of the Aston Martin. And he's got another Aston Martin, that's Daniel Handover, who decides to go grass tracking, and that's a bit of a difficult place to do that, but Ravio up by I think it's 16 thousandths of a second in Sector 1. He's really, really pushing, is the number 33, and he decides to abort the lap in quite spectacular fashion before hitting the escape button.
Yeah,
8 minutes. That was and that didn't work.
It's one of those moments, if you saw that in rail racing, you'd be like running for the hills. But it's one of the great things about sim racing. They can just see the delta on their car. They instantly know that they're not going to make that time back up. Bail, start another outlap, do it again, and hopefully he can get it going. But I've got to be honest, I don't think he's going to be able to pull that much time on Chris Butcher, given how scrappy these laps are. I'd be more focused using this time to make sure that the car setup is good and that you're smooth and settled for the race.
Yes, as Max Spooner having a bit of dramas in his own way. That's another run wide over 2 respective corners in the number 63 Team Texaco Aston Martin. I love the livery on this car. I mean, it just suits it down to a T, the white and the red, and obviously Max has put his own little flair on the sides of it. Here's Matt Richards out on a hot lap, going through Daiichi into now turn 2 into the left, and we'll go on board with Matt Richards in the 44 McLaren, breaking down from 5th into 3rd, 100 kph or so through the corner, and he's up by just over half a tenth of a second through Sector 1. He's going through. Now look at the amount of action that he's having to use to put through 300R through turns 3 and 4. He's wrestling with the back end of the McLaren. He is absolutely hell-bent on trying to close up that gap to Chris Butcher in order to try and maybe steal provisional pole position, but he's only got just under 6.5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, not long left. We see Eunice Drivio will start on his possibly maybe 3 laps he can get going if he's not on minimal fuel right now. Matt Richards will be starting his lap in about 20 seconds time, and Chris Butcher has just indeed started his lap as well, so he's just in front of Eunice Drivio with 6 minutes left to go, Alex.
So personal best for Matt Richards in that's a lot of opposite lock to stick on a 720S GT3, but it catches it and powers out of Panasonic corner, and then decides that was not what I wanted through turns 15 and 16. But he's still got time. You know, when they do an outlap, it's probably going to be, about 2 minutes, 2 minutes 10. And then if he gets out quick enough, he's going to have a chance at maybe 2, maybe even 3 flying laps if he's lucky, to really sort of try and put the cat amongst the IMB Vod racing pigeon because there's only one of them tonight. And unfortunately, we do have to say get well soon to Daniel Brewer, out with a collarbone break. So he will not be partaking in the rest of the season, but fingers crossed that team principal of IMB Vod Racing, Mike Pittman, can actually see if he can get a driver for the next 2 rounds of the season. Sandro Ballesteros, in the meantime, he's up on both sectors, David. This is an impressive lap from the youngster from eTeam BRIT, just 13 years of age, on the autistic spectrum, uses Able Racing, his platform, to bring awareness in motorsports, and he's been doing a fantastic job. Let's see if he can improve and get better in this lap alone, as he's got a 1 minute 37.514 to beat. He's up on sectors 1 and 2. He's going to come across the start-finish line, and he's gone better than just over a tenth of a second on that lap. Still a pretty impressive performance from the number 19.
Yeah, fantastic run there. Improvements as well for Ross McGregor, 136.167. Eunice Rivio improves again very slightly, 135.410. That brings the gap between him and Matt Richards to just 1/10 of a second. A way out for another outlap, but really this is coming down to crunch time now. Drivers are going to have to stick to this lap, because if they bail now, I don't know if they're going to have enough time to get another couple of laps in.
I think we'll have to wait and see on that one. So, yeah, it just could be that anything's possible, and normally in motorsport, it normally does tend to happen. Bradley Brocky's now improving on sector 1, so he's improved, and so many respects, Bradley Brocky's, if he can pull a bit of a gap to close up to teammate Sandro Ballesteros, who is how far ahead is it? Because that's a little bit further now. That must be about 8-9 tenths of a second between the two eTeam BRIT teammates.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on with that one, Alex. That was quite good eyesight there. Well done, buddy.
Means I don't need to go to Specsavers for at least another 20 years on that one.
Oh, wait, I do, though. I do.
Well, it is what it is, but 3 minutes on the clock remaining. Bradley Brocky's coming towards the start-finish line to complete another lap. And he does improve, a 1 minute 37.907. So that puts him to within about 6.5 to 7 tenths of a second off of Sandro Ballesteros. So good to see that the eTeam BRIT drivers are pushing each other along and just sort of really, really going for it. Louis Stewart now making his efforts towards the start-finish line. And he's done a 1 minute 48.625. Let's see, can he improve? He doesn't on that particular occasion. 6 tenths down, 2 minutes 20 on the clock to go. Butcher, I think he doesn't really need to charge and go for it, because in many respects here, David, he's got that little bit of a mind game advantage over Richards, and these two will be alongside each other on the front row unless Jonas Raivio has something to say about it.
Well, we'll see what happens, because Jonas Raivio had his fastest lap time, 135.410, excluded for track limits, just saw the message there from race control, and he's going to be a bit of a disadvantage right now, because he's got Chris Butcher actually right in front of him. So we'll see what that means, but this is going to be the final lap that they start this time round now. They're not going to have time to do an outlap. Yeah,
completely agree. I mean, it's going to be a case of who's going to go for it at the right time. Chris Butcher hasn't improved on both sectors. Right, I've just been informed that Daniel Handover will not be taking part in the rest of the evening's proceedings. So we are down to 8 GT3 cars. He's had tech issues. So hopefully, Dan, I hope that if he can get that resolved, that we see him back for Dubai. So we are down to 11 cars, but 60 seconds on the clock still to go. Buchan's improved ever so slightly there by about half a tenth or so there, David. So he's getting that little bit closer to sort of like saying, yeah, Dubai, I'll pretty much take it.
Yeah, Buchan's done and dusted. He's in pit lane. Louis Stewart is just about to come across the line to see if he can improve. Raivio has had enough. He's in pit lane as well. So it just leaves Butcher, Richards. Just checking there, Louis Stewart doesn't improve. Ross McGregor is still on track as well. Bradley Brockies and Daniel Hyde. That is your 5 cars, that are still on track for qualifying right now. Oh, and Daniel Hyde puts 2 wheels onto the grass there, spins the Corvette round, and that is good night Vienna for qualifying. It's going to be P7 for Daniel Hyde.
Well, look at Matt Richards in the meantime. He's coming through the final sector. He's up on sector 1. He's done a personal best in sector number 2. And if he can string this lap together, the checkered flag is now out for qualification. And it's now, we have to see what Matt Richards does to try and respond to Chris Butcher. I don't think he'll get provisional pole, but I hope for his sake he gets a little bit closer. He now comes out of Panasonic for the final time. He'll take the checkered flag. A 1 minute 35, 296 is his best time in qualification. A 1 minute 34.983 from Chris Butcher. Let's see. Will Richards get any closer? He does, but it's not enough. Chris Butcher takes pole position for IMB Vod Racing here at Fuji International Speedway. So let's have a look at the results of qualification here at Fuji International Speedway for round 6. What a job by IMB Vod Racing's Chris Butcher, Matt Richards in second, Jonas Raivio for Marlow Watch Company Racing rounding out the top 3 positions, all covered by 0.426 of a second. Ross McGregor about 0.7 of a second adrift in 4th, so a good strong showing for the 2 Marlow Aston Martins. Sandro Ballesteros and Bradley Brockies round out the top 3 rows as a result of Daniel Handover's sudden withdrawal. Daniel Hyde and Max Spooner round out the 8 GT3 cars that will be competing here tonight. And then we look at the SYNETIQ BMW Series. Martin Buchan, 95 points to his credit. Louis Stewart in second and Ben Hetherington in third place. But I must be completely honest here, David. Louis Stewart really keeping Martin Buchan honest in qualifying this time around. That's an impressive performance.
Yeah, he's looking very, very good. So the BMWs will be involved in their own little scrap. And remember, Martin's not flawless. Martin does make mistakes every now and again. And I think Louis will be pushing him in the light of maybe some other championship contenders who should have been here tonight. But Louis Stewart, definitely this is his time to shine. So,
I think we've got a couple or so minutes until I'll have a warm-up. And then we will go into 60 minutes of racing action here at Fuji International Speedway. David, we keep on saying this, as you said, it's going to be an absolute banger. I've said it's going to blow the bloody doors off. Do me a favour. I'm not going to predict a winner for the SYNETIQ BMW Series because I think we know, hand on heart, touch wood, who that person is. But I'm going to throw this question to you. Who do you think might triumph here at Fuji in GT3? This is an interesting one, isn't it?
It certainly is. And I've got one man that I just have this gut feeling that is going to take the win tonight, and that is Jonas Raivio. And I'll tell you why. I think that Matt Richards is on the back foot here with Chris Butcher. Chris Butcher is an incredibly accomplished defensive driver. He knows where to stick the car. However, we saw how impatient and how frustrated Matt Richards can be when he's driving behind someone. I think there's going to be something quite early on, maybe lap 2 or lap 3 between the two of them, and that's going to put them further down the order. I don't think it's going to be terminal for the pair of them, but I do think Jonas is going to take the win tonight. Oh,
that's a brave prediction. But in some respects, David, I do agree with you. But I'm going to throw another name into the mix. How about Ross McGregor, mate? He is out for vengeance. He is out for retribution this evening. And if he can get in there, because he showed pace at both Le Mans and Adria, and the Scot did not have Lady Luck on his side, maybe it's third time's a charm, and it could come to Ross McGregor. And what if it's a Marlow Watch Company Racing 1-2? Wouldn't that turn the storybook around a little bit?
It would be amazing, but I just don't have the faith, just purely because I don't know what Ross has done, whether he's bulldozed over a batch of mirrors, but he has done something that has angered the gods above, because that boy cannot get a break right now. Joking aside, he is a very, very fast driver, and very likely to get a podium tonight.
Well, there you have it. You heard it here first. Both David, Christie and I are sizing up that Yunus Raivio could put a spanner in the works for the two championship protagonists. And I think you're pretty right. You're pretty spot on. But I'm not going to count out the rest of the field in any way, shape or form here, because Yunus Raivio could really upset the apple cart. And what if you see Max Spooner doing exactly what he did last time and having a really, really good race last time out? So that could be quite interesting from a multitude of perspectives.
No, the world, the internet is not ready for Max Spooner and that level of excitement, Alex. If that was to happen, I mean, goodness knows what that lad would do.
I think he'd need to have a defibrillator, and you would need to have a defibrillator on standby.
Or a swear jar at the very least.
That's £1 already for you then, because I can hear you cursing under your breath, mate.
No, I just forgot to press the push to talk button. Right, interestingly, a little bit of cheeky goss. Matt Richards and Chris Butcher in the warm-up chat. Matt Richards saying it's going to be a fun one. Chris Butcher saying that his car is a little bit drifty. Now, we saw that with the back end of that BMW. Now, normally that wouldn't be an issue. It just shows that he's pushing things. But yeah, actually, Alex, I'm just looking outside. Is it raining on the track?
Well, there were a little bit of a forecast here. Oh, you know what this means?
Substantial.
You know what that means? It's a game changer. And this is what I was looking for. I was hoping that we were going to have a potential rainfall on the horizon. And Japan, as always, textbook delivers. So yeah, this is really going to change things. Now, I think the storybook, you've had to rip every single chapter out of the book, throw it to one side, and start thinking about what is about to happen next, because if I'm truthful here, David, this could be the race that really ignites the spark in the championship and also gives other people a big chance to shine, even if it is in wet weather conditions.
Yep. The two words that I would use for tonight, Alex, game on.
Spot on there, mate. Absolutely spot on. I couldn't agree with you more there. So we are just awaiting for the warm-up to conclude ahead of 60. Yes, 1 hour of racing here at the summit of Mount Fuji, the site of where the late James Hunt with McLaren back in 1976 secured an emphatic Formula One world title. Despite all the trials and tribulations for both him and, of course, the late Niki Lauda, we have a race on our hands, and I cannot wait. Hopefully, we'll get things underway momentarily, but myself and David will be back in just a moment's time. Right, this is going to be an interesting one. We were hoping for rain. Who knows, maybe the gods in the land of the rising sun might help us on that front. But here is your grid for round 6 of the 2020 season. Chris Butcher from IMB Vod Racing and Matt Richards on row number 1. Jonas Raivio and Ross McGregor on row 2. Sandro Ballesteros and Bradley Brockies, the eTeam BRIT boys, are alongside each other with Daniel Hyde and Max Spooner on the back part of the row for GT3s. Then it is Martin Buchan leading the way for the SYNETIQ BMW Series, one step away from pretty much becoming the de facto champion of this season. Alongside him will be Louis Stewart, and bringing up the back of the grid, last, but as they say, David, by no means least, Ben Hetherington, who's improved time and time again. He's come into this with hardly any practice, but he's still going to give it his all. This is going to be exciting, isn't it, mate?
Yes, I'm just taking a nice deep breath in here as we go on the formation lap, and I really do like our manual formation laps that we do here now as part of the championship. I think it's a great thing for the drivers to really soak up the atmosphere, maybe get a little bit of the old adrenaline starting to go ahead of the start here. And Chris Butcher and Matt Richards are, mark my words, a way to set off the biggest fireworks you've seen.
Yeah. That's very, very true. And I just can't wait. It's just, I've got goosebumps. I've got hair standing on the back of my neck. Oh, I am absolutely anticipating an absolute firecracker here.
Yeah, just watching the cars making their way around. I think that's them coming around the final corner now, round Panasonic corner. Indeed it is, Alex. We are getting ready to go green here at Fuji.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Butcher on the front row, on pole position. Matt Richards alongside, then it's Raivio and McGregor. We are literally a few moments away from going green here at Fuji International Speedway. Wait for it. Hold on to your hats, and if you want to see what's going to happen over the next hour, you are in for a treat. So let's see, as the dogfight is being joined by 2 other Aston Martins, the Marlowe Watch Company duo right up behind, as we might be going racing very, very shortly. Looks like we've gone off to a full sprint. And now it is nearly 4 abreast heading into turn 1, and it looks like one of the that is Jonas Raivio up the inside of Chris Butcher. He drifts wide through Daiichi. Ross McGregor's off the track and manages to get back on, but Max Spooner again has got an absolutely brilliant launch, and he's already up into P3 before they hit Coca-Cola corner.
Yeah, what a fantastic start for Max Spooner. A great start as well for Jonas Raivio. Absolutely had to jump on that start there and threw it up the inside. But it's Chris Butcher now that's up into the lead with Matt Richards down in third. And this is only going to aggravate Matt Richards even more right now because he's been mugged on that start. Terrible start for Ross McGregor, but it's not as bad as he thinks because he's still within contention. He's just 2 seconds off the lead.
Well, Butcher now really having to make sure that he's got to keep everyone else at bay. And I have to say that's a pretty good message from our broadcast director. Bam, sandwich top 3. BMW, Aston Martin and McLaren. Brilliantly timed there. I didn't even think about that one, and I'm still lost for words at the best of times. But Chris Butcher leading the way. Matt Richards on the back of Raivio for second position. But in this particular occasion, as they come onto the back straightaway for the first time to complete lap number 1, it is Chris Butcher from IMB Vod Racing. Then it is Jonas Raivio, Matt Richards. Ross McGregor looks to be in 4th position. No, it's Max Spooner in 4th position. Ross McGregor, I think he's down in 5th place, isn't he, David?
He's down in 6th. He's had a horrible lap there, and he's angered the gods yet again because he had a spin coming out of 300R and has managed to get it back onto the track there. Jonas Raivio down into 3rd place. Matt Richards making a move on the run up to turn 1. Oh, 2 wheels on the grass from Jonas Raivio, but he keeps it on, and Matt Richards now on the charge to catch up with Butcher.
Yes, and now again. Oh, Butcher loses the back end. Oh, he spins 180 degrees. He does a 360, and that allowed. Well, who would have thunk it? I did say about Max Spooner. He's absolutely profited. He's now ahead of the driver that is in 2nd position in the standings. So Max Spooner really has kept his nose clean, and Well, I cannot believe my eyes. We did say that things could change as towards the back end of Richards comes Raivio. So this is the battle for the lead. And if I'm honest here, David, I don't think Matt Richards is going to have an easy time considering how far away Jonas Raivio is at the minute. So let's have a look at the replay. They come into Coca-Cola corner and he hits, look, he wallops the curb. It sends the back end out and it's already gone before he's even hit the apex through Coca-Cola corner. The back end steps out. Richards goes to the right of the BMW.
Oh, and Ross McGregor's day goes from bad to worse. He loses it on the exit of, I can't quite tell, I think that was the second to last corner, Panasonic corner, goes straight into the wall, and that drops him even further down. Ross McGregor's day is absolutely horrendous right now.
But I think if he tries to get some sort of semblance of trying to come back from it, obviously if he effects repairs, he can do so and get the car back out on the circuit and still score points, which will help him get up the order. In many respects, when you look at the standings at the moment, he could catch up to Andy Tucker if he gets an opportunity. So let's have a look at the replay. Yeah, you're right. It's just like the back end just went and he's gone sideways in. Right-hand side of the vehicle clatters into the barrier, so both front and rear corners literally torn a new one, so to speak. That they've literally, that the uprights have probably been clinking around like a load of skeleton bones. But Ross McGregor now, he's still circulating. And this, I cannot believe, Chris Butcher now being hustled by one of the eTeam BRIT boys, and that is 13-year-old from Rochdale, Sandro Ballesteros. Oh, Chris Butcher's really not liking what's happening right now after that spin on the very first lap through Coca-Cola corner, and now he's got a young charger breathing down the rear exhaust pipes of the BMW M6.
Yeah, he's under a lot of pressure, as is Matt Richards right now. That gap is coming down again. It was 0.8 of a second. I think that's now down to about 0.6. One man that we've not had a chance to speak about so far is Martin Buchan. Now, we were expecting him to be out in the lead, but he's only a second and a half ahead of Louis Stewart. Louis doing a fantastic job of keeping that SYNETIQ BMW Championship nice and honest.
So, and he's getting the gap down. How are the lap times looking between the pair of them, David?
Well, last time round, it's not actually given me any lap times here on looking at, but the gap was 2 seconds, and the gap is now 1.6 seconds. So it's definitely coming down between the two of them there. What's also coming down now is the gap between the leader and Jonas Raivio. That again was up to 0.8 of a second. Now it's just 0.3 of a second. Jonas is absolutely hanging the back end of that car out to dry, and Matt Richards has never seen pressure before like this.
I think I think as soon as Jonas Raivio came into the chat, I think he sort of like thought, right, I've got to watch myself here, because if it's not Chris, it's Jonas, and Jonas now hustling that car through turns 10, into 11, into 12, into the right at 13 very shortly as they go up the hill. The engine's starting to struggle as the oxygen is being thinned out, so the turbocharged engines on both of these V8 powered cars starting to struggle a little bit, but you can just see through the driving style between the pair of them as Butcher gets past Max Spooner for P3. So Matt Richards, I think, is trying to do everything in his power. And now Jonas Raivio will have the momentum. He will have the slipstream, and that Aston Martin will start closing very quickly. They go down this incredible long straightaway. It's been the host of Super GT in both the 500 and the 300 categories for so many years, and it already provides great action. But we're seeing it here in GT3 in the eTeam BRIT season as Matt Richards, I think he knows that Jonas will strike, and he won't say if he will strike, it will be when he will strike.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, all that's going on is Jonas is taking that pressure and absolutely ratcheting it up right now. He could have made a lunge up the inside into turn 1, but he's really just wanting to make Matt Richards have to sweat right now.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget, I didn't mention about the DAF driver of the day. Those people wanting to vote, you can send your email to eTeamBrit@teambrit.co.uk the minute we hit the half-hour mark to go. and we will run the voting all the way through until 5 minutes to go on the clock. And it is down to you lot out there watching on your screens at home. So don't forget, email eTeam BRIT at teambrit.co.uk from when we hit the half-hour mark. Pit stop window opens in just over 13 minutes, so it's a mandatory 30-second pit stop. And in many respects, that's another thing that we've seen that has caught out one particular driver who's not with us this evening here, David, Joey Vrolijk. But who's not to say that lightning could strike somebody else this particular time? Yeah,
that's very, very possible. I hope that they've all got their pit stop game on point tonight. But Eunice Rivio, this is ebbing and flowing between the leader, Matt Richards, and Eunice quite nicely. Chris Butcher has been left out to dry. He's now 7.2 seconds behind this battle right now. But I'm just watching Matt here with that car. And it's now starting to be a little bit tail happy. He's having to really wrestle that car in. And I wonder if he's starting to overdrive the tyres on that thing.
Yeah, and if he starts overdriving, that's going to compromise the sidewalls. There's going to be a lot of lateral scrubbing at the bottom of those contact patches. Yeah, you can just see he's having to correct so much coming through 300R there. And you can just see how smooth the style of Eunice Rivio is. He's taking wider lines. He's making sure that the car carries the momentum through the corners quite easily. And it's been quite interesting as they've now gone through 300R. They're now going into the right at Dunlop. So, yeah, Matt Richards really starting to struggle. The body language of how that McLaren is handling at the moment is not to Matt Richards' liking. Eunice Rivio senses a little bit of blood in the water. He's got an opportunity here to just keep putting the pressure on. And there comes a point when you push a driver hard enough and effectively they will crack at a moment's notice. They'll make a mistake and it will be an unforced error as again we go to complete another lap here. But Rivio, I think he's doing some psych game here, isn't he? He's letting Matt Richards know that he's there, but he's not giving away all the tricks in his playbook.
100%, Alex. Have we ever had a round where Matt Richards hasn't gone off to, say, maybe 7, 8, 9 seconds in the lead and then, you know, through his own mistake, being caught back up? But he's not used to this. He's not used to being under this much pressure.
No, considering the fact the gap was about 0.6 of a second, and that's how it's remained for around about the last 9.5 or so minutes. So, Butcher, you know, he's now got to think, I've got to do damage limitation. I've got Sandro Ballesteros a little bit further behind me as Matt Richards and Eunice Rivio. Oh, we've got Ben Hetherington in front. So Richards will have to try and go around the outside. He does so. So Hetherington quickly gets out of the way. And Eunice Rivio, as a result of that, has closed right up on the back bumper of the McLaren. He senses there's an opportunity. I think if they come through at Panasonic Corner and Rivio's run on the back bumper of Richards, he will have the opportune moment to really put the hammer down and get past the number 44 McLaren. Maybe not this lap, maybe the next lap, because you can see that through some of the twisty stuff, Matt Richards is able to manhandle that McLaren in the right way possible to allow him to get away as, Rivio gets very sideways and he catches that like a good one. That's an absolutely brilliant save, I think, that I've seen from Eunice Rivio, let alone any competitor in this competition. And that has put him a bit more on the back foot. The gap now up to nearly 0.7 of a second. 49 minutes, 21 seconds to go in this race. And when we hit 40 on the clock to go, the mandatory pit stop window will open. The drivers will have 20 minutes to make sure they at least have a 30-second pit stop. And it will be a case of who is going to do the undercut on who. And it works very well for Chris Butcher last time out at Adria, which meant he took the win, albeit it being 0.4 of a second, David. But if Rivio does the undercut or the overcut, if he does the overcut and he runs longer, what this could mean is that Matt Richards is going to have to put in qualification laps when he doesn't really want to, and that could compromise his strategy towards the end of the race here, and that could be the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, my question is, just watching the way that Matt Richards is hustling that car and pushing and pushing and pushing, is the tyre temperatures. How well is Matt Richards looking after the tyres, especially on the uphill here, compared to Eunice? Eunice is so smooth and flowing with the car, and similarly looking after the tyres a lot more. So, yeah, strategy is going to be an absolute game changer for this one, and we're only going to have to wait another 15 to 30 minutes to find out.
Yes, indeed we are. So at the moment, as we go on board with, looks like Louis Stewart, he's 1.8 seconds behind Martin Buchan here, David. I mean, another standout performance from the young 16-year-old in the number 13 green machine, and he's going to brake from 6th gear into Daiichi. They're going to brake and go down to 3rd, so halfway down the gearbox. Nigh on full lock there to the right-hand side through Daiichi, up to 4th. He's going to pull 5th possibly before going into Coca-Cola corner. Gets the rev limit, drops down possibly to 3rd gear. Well, no, he keeps it through in 4th, and you can just see the amount of steering input that you need to put in for the M2 competition here. But I must be completely honest, Louis Stewart is doing an absolutely brilliant job in 2nd place so far. And you said, he kept Martin Buchan honest through qualifying. He's doing exactly the same thing in the race.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the other dynamic that's going to come in is they're going to get absolutely gobbled up right now from your GT3 leaders, who are catching them up hand over fist right now. In fact, it's going to be on this lap. Eunice Rivio on the back bumper of Matt Richards right now, and possibly making a move on Dunlop Corv. He thinks about it, but pulls back in. Oh my goodness me, this is starting to get tense. But Louis Stewart, what a cracking little drive. We said before, Martin Buchan is not faultless. He does make mistakes every now and again, and Louis Stewart is in the perfect position to mop up.
Yeah, Martin Buchan, Fuji Drift. That's the new Hollywood blockbuster. Replaces Fast and Furious. Coming soon to a cinema near you, or maybe even Netflix, if they can afford the budget. But yeah, Eunice Rivio, he's now got that gap down to just over 0.4 of a second. He's got the slipstream now, which means that he will have the advantage. Matt Richards is punching that hole into the dirty air, and Eunice Rivio is closing. Oh, they're coming across the start-finish line. 46 minutes on the clock. Rivio will go towards the inside line, and he's got the move. He's got up the inside of Matt Richards. Can he get past? Yes! That's a brilliant move by the 33, but now they've got the two BMWs up ahead, so Rivio will probably go one way. Richards will have to go to the same direction, and then they'll have to quickly get past Martin Buchan. But if I'm honest here, David, look at the gap between Richards and Butcher. It is coming down.
It certainly is. It was 7.5 seconds, and it's now just 6.3 seconds. Oh, and Rivio gets caught up a little bit by Buchan, and he returns a favour by compromising Buchan's line, and Louis Stewart's going to be very, very thankful for that one.
Yes, indeed he will be. So Richards, I think, now needs to put the boot on the other foot, so to speak, and give Rivio a taste of his own medicine, as we are on board with Martin Buchan as he's gone through Dunlop corner. And again, another driver that you say that sometimes he can be a bit wayward in his driving side of things, but to go from one platform to another and show the adaptability of sim racers these days is quite a good skill to have. As Richards closes up on the braking zone, oh, now we could possibly see a repeat. It depends how good a run Richards gets coming out, and you can just see Rivio sort of jinking to the right, going to the left. He's trying to break the toe, but Richards again is closing. Look, this is a repeat of what happened last time out. He's closing, the speed is increasing. He's going to go to the right, and again on the very next lap, Richards retakes the lead going into Daiichi.
Oh, and there's almost contact there. They're nose to tail as they go into Daiichi. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Eunice Rivio, I think, is just going to hang on to the back bumper of that car. But more importantly, that just goes to prove exactly what we said. Look at how impatient Matt Richards is compared to Eunice. Eunice was quite happy to sit for 4, 5, 6, 7 laps behind Matt Richards, just slowly waiting his time. But Matt Richards is like, nope, not having any of it. I want that first place back, and I'm going to take it right now.
Well, because what he's looking at is how far he can extend the lead Butcher, because Butcher will have 30 points at the end of this race. That will put him on 220 points. It'll put him on 221 because Chris Butcher got pole position. Then you look at Matt Richards. He's on 207. He gets 35 points in this race. That puts him on 242. Who's got the fastest lap at the moment in GT3s?
The GT3s, I can't actually tell you that. I will go and jump on and have a look for you and get back to the answer with that one.
Sounds like a plan to me, but Matt Richards still battling away with Jonas Raivio as they've got 3 minutes to 3 minutes to go until the pit stop window opens for round 6 here at Fuji International Speedway. And what's more impressive, David, is that it has been a dogfight between these two. We saw Butcher and Richards at each other's throats in Adria. Now it's Jonas Raivio battling away with the number 44 from Zansho Simsport. It's been an enthralling battle thus far.
Certainly has, and I think it's just starting to settle down because, you know, we've only got 8 minutes before we start to get the pit stops coming into effect, but Chris Butcher still bringing that gap down, 6 seconds behind the race leader, and the more these two fight, the more he's going to sneak into it.
Ross McGregor on the comeback trail, up to P5 now is the number 3, as he will now close up on Martin Buchan. A steady recovery from Ross McGregor. I think he's now managed to get a bit of a handle on the circuit and on the car. And a little bit further behind is Max Spooner, who was at one point all the way up to P3. But as the time has started, has been counting down in this race, David, Spooner in his Aston Martin is not in the same league as Raivio and McGregor. And McGregor has got a gap of around about, it looks very close between the top two yet again. 3.5 tenths of a second going through up the other part of the circuit. And I think Jonas Raivio, again, he's just showing how, you don't need to be aggressive or scruffy. You just need to be able to be smooth, calm, consistent, and then what's more, making sure that you hit your braking points, your apex points, and getting out of the corners at the right time. As now Richards does exactly the same thing that Raivio did a couple of laps later to try and break the toe. And I'm not too sure, Mr. Richards, if that is going to work, because look at the rate of knots that Raivio's closing on the back bumper of the 44. Out to the right again goes the number 33 Marlow Watch Company Racing Aston Martin. Up the inside into Daiichi go the two leaders. It's nip and tuck between the pair, but Raivio gets the move done with about half a car length ahead of Matt Richards. That was a great move there by the number 33.
Chris Butcher now 5.6 seconds behind this battle. He is going to be absolutely rubbing his hands together with these two fighting it out. And these two are on an incredible pace right now. But I think that if Jonas can calm things down a little bit and maybe force Matt Richards into a mistake, this could start to get wild. On that note, just watch Matt Richards, the language of his car during this lap compared to Jonas Raivio.
Yeah, very much the case, as Sandro Ballesteros absolutely having a blinder this time around. It might be 8 cars, but the number 19, the 13-year-old from Rochdale, is in P4. And look how close he is to Chris Butcher. He's not that far adrift. He's about 9 seconds off, but he's still very, very smooth, methodical, and he's not doing anything wrong. The pit stop window opened 10 seconds ago. So now we have 20 minutes for the drivers to make their mandatory 30-second pit stop. They've got to replace all 4 tyres. They will have to put some fuel in the cars because as the cars are getting lighter, it's going to make them quicker. But also you've got to factor in the tyre degradation, the mechanical grip that will be lost as a direct result of that. So there's still plenty of this to go, as Raivio has been passed once again by Richards, and that would have been going into Daiichi once more. And the gap now just under 2 tenths of a second between Richards and Raivio for the lead as we hit just over 39 minutes to go on the clock.
Wow, what a race this is. I've never seen the likes in this championship so far. Jonas Raivio, we want more of this. We need to get him another car for the championship here, because this is sensational stuff from him. Chris Butcher, that gap has gone up a little bit more now. It was 5.7 seconds, it's now 6.3 seconds. And the back end of that BMW starting to look a little bit worse for wear. So he might be needing tyres very, very soon.
Yep, so 8 minutes and 40 to go until you can start voting for your DAF driver of the day. Votes can be cast by email only. It's a public vote. Oh, and as I say, that Richards has a moment there. And that was through turns 11 and 12. And now Raivio now closing back up on the Welshman. So Matt Richards now senses that again he's going to be under fire. These two have been at loggerheads, and we saw this, that Richards has been pushing and the car was a bit tail happy going through the apex of Panasonic corner, but Raivio now watch the amount of time behind. It is closing very, very quickly. He's going to get under 0.3 of a second. And as they come across the start-finish line, now the momentum increases. Raivio in the tow. Richards still leading. Raivio back up the inside once again, heading into Daiichi. Oh, that was nearly a Mansell and Senna moment from 1991 there. Coming down into Daiichi, but once again, Raivio retakes the lead.
Wow, this is thrilling stuff between these two right now. And Matt Richards is absolutely chomping away at the heel of Raivio right now. Further back down is still Buchan in the lead from Stewart, but that gap looks to be about 1.5 seconds over Louis Stewart, maybe up to 2 seconds now, but that pink car of Martin Buchan starting to get a little bit squirrely, and Louis Stewart starting to look very, very menacing indeed.
Yeah, it's 3.2 seconds behind the current leader in the standings, but also the current leader in the race. But this has been enthralling. You did say about Jonas Raivio, you were absolutely spot on the money. He has been nothing if not persistent to try and keep Matt Richards at bay and also get past him when the opportunity presents itself. So we're now going to see, I'm looking at the gap between them here, David, and you can see that the gap now, Raivio, is he pulling away? Because that was nearly up to 0.9 of a second. Look at it. They're coming around the final corner. Look, Raivio's trying to pull away. He's got a 0.9 of a second advantage coming across the line with 36 minutes or so to go.
I think he's just broken the toe from Matt Richards there. I don't think Matt Richards is going to get back up to the back of him here. And this is absolutely uncharted territory for Matt Richards.
You know what this also means is that we've had two drivers both pick up bottles of Copperfield London dry gin. Who's not gets that opportunity? But then in other respects here, David, this means that Marlow Watch Company Racing, if they have a 35-point score this evening, oh, that's going to put them ever so much closer. That's going to drop the gap. I mean, currently at the moment, it is 12 points. And that could make that 13 points going into Dubai for second place in the Kasia GT3 Championship standings, which could give the Glaswegian hotshot, as I'm going to call him from now on, John. He comes back at Dubai, expects fireworks in the runner for the fight for the runner-up position in the team standings. As Butcher has a little bit of a moment there, loses a bit of time there going through turns 10 and 11. But Jonas Raivio, his gap now is nearly 2 seconds ahead of Matt Richards.
Yeah, Matt Richards, his tyres are gone. That's exactly what's happened, and this is what I was trying to warn about during the early stages of the race. You know, you can't push that car as hard as you can. And it's Matt Richards into the pit lane. That is the best move I think that he can make. He's certainly going over to the right hand side. Yep, he's pulling into pit lane to do his pit stop. And yeah, he needed to do that. Eunice now is going to be very, very well set up to put in a couple of really fast laps here and really enjoy the gap that he's got behind him.
And now, as Sandro Ballesteros attempts to cross the line, he will also go past Matt Richards. So Richards, I'm just going to keep an eye on the timer. So he's halfway through at the moment as Ballesteros goes through Daiichi. Here's Louis Stewart. Excuse me, frog in the throat there. You can't get your words out. I've got coming next. as Louis Stewart, he's done a really good job so far. 4 seconds off of Martin Buchan. As Matt Richards, that's a good pit stop. 30.7 seconds for the McLaren. It will drop into the back part of the field, but when he gets out, expect a McLaren with a purpose, courtesy of Zansho Simsport's Matt Richards. As Louis Stewart does a proper drift. That was nicely done through Panasonic corner, just lit up the back end and made it rotate through the corner. So Louis Stewart, I think he's done a really good job. Ben Hetherington, he got his first podium last time out. He's on course for another one as long as he is classified. Max Spooner, in the meantime, has got past Bradley Brockies for P5. So Max Spooner looking to score some very good points for Team Texaco. I have spoken to him about a possibility of a second driver. He said that is still in the works, but good old Max, he's doing a great job in the lowest place of the Aston Martins, but it's still respectable at P5. And if you look the gap between him and Ross McGregor, it's about, 14 seconds at the minute. So Max Spooner, he's still got a little bit more life left in the tyres, possibly in the Aston Martin if he's not pushing too hard, as Bradley Brockies gets a bit tail-happy going through Zent corner before you go onto the right-hander at Panasonic. But Richards now has probably got a bee in his bonnet the size of a hive at the moment, wouldn't you say, David?
I certainly would. I mean, you could not have scripted it. I know I said about Jonas taking the win tonight, but I never imagined it like this. I never imagined it on raw pace and performance. I mean, this is just absolutely sensational tonight.
So, Max Spooner being closed in on by Bradley Brockies. This is the battle for 5th on the road, and the pair are literally less than half a second apart. Considering the fact that the Team Texaco entry is actually engineered by eTeam BRIT, so in some respects they've got a little bit of a nice sort of segue there. But Spooner looking a bit more composed through the twisty stuffs, whereas Bradley Brockies looking a little bit ragged. But obviously these 1 hour races, David, are incredibly physically and mentally draining for all concerned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been blessed with the fact that the conditions are still relatively fantastic for the drivers here. Maybe more so for the BMW drivers. It's a little bit more squirrely on the handling and a little bit more exhausting to be doing that. But yeah, it's a heck of an effort. Any endurance race you're having to do, it just absolutely saps you physically and mentally. And
tiredness is a key factor because there are drivers. Oh, Max Spooner has a bit of a moment there. Oh, up the inside. That was through Zent corner, and Bradley Brockies goes, thank you very much, as Max Spooner makes it sideways coming out of the corner. Ross McGregor now in for his mandatory stop, as is Bradley Brockies. Are they? No. That was a bit cheeky. Going towards the pit lane entry, and they've both gone, one set of wheels on one side, one set of wheels on the other side. They've gone, shall I go into the pits? Nah, I'm going to enjoy this battle. And this is what we like about it, where they're going to go toe-to-toe with Spooner, sends it up the inside of Brockies through Daiichi. Oh, he cuts across the nose of the McLaren. Nicely done there, sir, in the 63. That was a pretty good move there from Max Spooner, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was awesome stuff. Still holding on. There's self-in again. Bradley Brockies tries to take up the inside there. And Spooner on the other side, and I think Spooner's just come out the better of that, but Bradley Brockies showing absolutely no fear.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, DAF Driver of the Day voting starts right now. You've got 25 minutes to email your vote for DAF Driver of the Day to eTeamBrit@teambrit.co.uk. Dan Hyde now in for his mandatory pit stop after the half-hour window, but Brockies looking to size up Spooner yet again. Oh, nearly touch on the back bumper of the Aston Martin there, going through Dunlop corner. They go up the hill. Spooner looks to have the run at the minute, but Bradley Brockies, he's like a wolf looking at his prey, and it just so happens to be a Team Texaco Aston Martin.
Yeah, he's hungry and he wants to take that 5th place, but remember, he's got a couple of cars that are going to be jumping him as soon as those two go in towards pit lane. And I'm just having a look at Eunice Rivio, looking so flawless on this run right now, dropping Chris Butcher at a rate of knots. That's now 9.5 seconds to second place.
Well, make that nearly 10 seconds now as Bradley Brockies in the tow of Max Spooner. And That's 208, nearly 280 kilometers an hour. Oh, he jinks to the right, goes towards the inside of Max Spooner into Daiichi. Spooner to the outside, Brocky's to the inside. Nicely done. Oh, now, I'm sorry, Max Spooner. Do not do a Matthias Ekstrom impersonation like he did a few years ago in the DTM. That does not work, and that could have been pretty catastrophic for the pair of them had Max Spooner. Oh, Spooner, as I say, that goes wide, coming out of Coca-Cola corner. Now, that was more than just a Freudian slip.
Yeah, I think Spooner's a little bit frustrated now, and I hope that there's nothing happening between them. Oh, a little bit of contact with Spooner. Yeah, this is not looking great for Spooner. I think he's more than a little bit frustrated right now.
Yeah, Max Spooner, keep your Louis Vuitton handbag at bay, please. Thank you very much. Well, that's a luxury brand, as is Aston Martin. Right. Okay. As I say that, we've had 1 vote for DAF Driver of the Day. Keep them coming in. You've got until 5 minutes to go. So email us at eTeamBRIT@teambrit.co.uk. And if it does come to a tie, we will have a casting vote. Max Spooner. Oh, now this. I'm sorry. This is not Fight Club, Max Spooner. You do not talk about Fight Club. You do not engage Fight Club. Not even on a circuit like this. And yeah, I think the red mist, let alone the red paint job on that Aston Martin, has definitely got into the pores of Max Spooner.
He's not a happy bunny, is he? How long, Alex, have we got left for the pit window? It's 20 minutes that they get, isn't it?
Yeah, 7 minutes and 15 seconds still to go. Ballesteros pits from P3 as these two battling over what is now third place. Oh, Max Spooner goes very, very wide on the outside of Daiichi. Brocky's just goes, thank you very much, I'll have that. And Max Spooner, again, I think just late breaking himself into there, but look who's in the background. Oh, Matt Richards is closing hand over fist. He's only 3 seconds behind Max Spooner, so this battle is going to get really, really interesting. Sandro Ballesteros is safe on the pit stop, so but then you look, oh no, there's a bit of a mistake there from Brad. Max Spooner up the inside, jinks to the right and cuts across the front of the McLaren. So this, I mean, I must be honest here, David, going through 300R, these two are absolutely giving no quarter. Oh, they tangle! Oh, they spin out! Unlock curve, and that gives Matt Richards the opportunity he very much needed without having to pass the pair of them. Well, it was a case of 2 into 1, really don't go, and the biggest loser in that was Bradley Brockies. But again, he's got Max Spooner in front of him, and you know, they were pushing so hard there, and I just cannot believe my eyes that the team boss with the newly promoted full-time driver for eTeam BRIT, Bradley Brockies, they come to blows on the very same corner. Oh, mamma mia.
I race control 100% looking at that. Max Spooner is on his second track limit warning. Bradley Brocky's going into pit lane from the looks of it. Bradley Brocky's made a dive up the inside, and again, this is just personal opinion, so race control will come to an independent decision on this, but from what I saw, Bradley Brocky's dived out to the inside, was obviously going to try and throw it up, and it just looked like Max Spooner just turned a little bit to the right, possibly under braking, and caught the rear end of Bradley Brocky's, and the pair of them went off. Terrible, terrible luck there, and yeah, that was not how I wanted that to end.
Yeah, I think it looks a bit 50-50 there, because obviously Bradley trying to go up the inside, Max left enough racing room, and I mean, if you could see that he definitively turned in, I could see that the Aston started drifting a little bit, but I think if he'd have turned in, you would have seen it quite literally visceral in front of your face. But that is something that race controllers, you very well put, David, need to address, and if they are investigating it, that's absolutely fine. As Max Spooner, you can tell that car is not running right, because obviously with that contretemps, the pair of them, I mean, Max Spooner will have to pit very shortly, because those tyres, I think, are absolutely shot. Look, the car's all over the shop.
Yeah, I think that's a huge mistake for Max Spooner not to take that immediately into the pits. Bradley Brocky's, that's him just leaving the pit now. So if you imagine that's the damage that Bradley has had, he's had about 40 seconds of repairs there. Goodness knows what Max is going to have, and surely he's not going to try and fight it. It looks like he is, Max Spinner's still going to try and keep this going.
Well, he's got 3 minutes and 53 seconds still to go. I have been informed that, yes, race control are looking into the incident as we speak. So as soon as we get a notification, we will find out directly. Ross McGregor, he's come back handsomely at the moment. Okay, he's a bit on his lonesome, but if he plays the long game, he plays it smart, he will be able to get himself as close to a podium as possible. Whereas Yunus Ravio at the moment, David, look at the gap between him and Chris Butcher. 13.9 seconds, and we got 23 minutes still to go on the clock.
Yeah, and Yunus, not any sign of pitting yet, so surely it's going to have to be the next lap in for Yunus Ravio, as I'm watching Max Spinner again, just trying to nurse that car around, but it's so restricted right now. Surely he's going to have to pit very soon.
Yeah, I think that's very much the case. Right, I think I've got a notification here. Right, drive through for Bradley Brockies, causing an avoidable collision. So, just being confirmed by our race director, Anthony Jordan, who stepped in this week. So, Bradley Brockies will have to live. He's got to lick his wound. He's got to live to fight another day. He's got to lick it. He's got a bit more salt in the wounds than he probably would have liked. But I think I agree with that decision wholeheartedly, because if he was alongside a bit sooner alongside Max, and that incident would happen, I think it might have been classed as a racing incident there, David.
It's all going to race control. It's all good, and they're the ones that get to make those decisions. We are just the ones that commentate on it, and we don't have the same angles that they do. They can replay it to their heart's content. We get a one-shot look at it. They've obviously came to the right decision there, and yeah, that's Bradley Brockies. It was a silly move to make in the outset. Regardless of who made the contact, it was a very late lunge, and he's had to pay the price for it. Right,
1 minute and 45 seconds for the pit stop window to close. I'm just wondering, Ben Hetherington in the pits, Martin Buchan now serving his mandatory pit stop, so that will make it that all three SYNETIQ BMWs will have pitted and made their mandatory stops. 31.7 for Martin Buchan. Ben Hetherington just going through the second half of it, second third of it. So effectively, Bradley turned left into the car as he dived in. Max did not move. So very well put there. They were thinking of actually putting in a bigger penalty for Bradley Brockies, but they've given him a drive-through as a result. I think that's a fair call there, really, to be honest with you. As Butcher now in the pits. And
Yunus Ravio not in the pit, so he's going to have to pit at the end of this one, otherwise he's going to miss the pit window.
You know what that means? 60-second penalty. Joey Vrolijk, does that remind you of anything, mate? But Butcher now to his pit stop. Bradley Brockies goes wide off of Daiichi. Dan Hyde manages to capitalise through with the Corvette. So Butcher now is in the clear. The pit stop, 30.7 seconds. How far away is Yunus Ravio from entering the pit lane is my biggest conundrum here, David.
About 15 seconds. He's just coming up towards Panasonic corner just now. So he will be in pit lane in the next 15 seconds.
Right. I've got a feeling that we are going to have a potential of a three-way scrap, because in this sort of aspect, Yunus Ravio entering the pit lane. Oh, look at the margin. He's coming into the pits, and the timer has now gone to just under 20 seconds. He's firmly on the anchors into the pits. So I will await the call that's a good pit stop. I mean, he jinked to the right very early on, so you could see he was going into the pits. I think that is the closest call we have had all season long. He now pulls into the pits. So the car will go up on all four air jacks, and we wait to find out what happens. But in the meantime, look at how far... Now, the time's coming down between Ravio and Rick. Butcher, I don't think is going to be in for the victory, if I'm honest here, David. I mean, if he finishes third, it's good damage limitation. But look at Ross McGregor. Ross McGregor is trying to close on Chris Butcher. So I think the Scot senses a little bit of maybe some podium action here at Fuji.
Yeah, that could very well be the place. And in fact, there we go. That looks like Matt Richards into the lead then. So Matt Richards has done the undercut. Goodness knows how he's done that by such a significant margin. That's got to be, what, 6-7 seconds?
And look at the stop time for Jonas Raivio, 37.1. Matt Richards was out in 30.7 seconds. So that is where the advantage has happened for Matt Richards. But we have seen Jonas Raivio start to claw things back. Now, considering the fact that the amount of fuel that would have been on board Matt Richards' car is very, very different in comparison to what Jonas Raivio will now have on that Aston Martin. So your guess is as good as mine. How quickly can Jonas Raivio catch up to Matt Richards in terms of the race victory here at Fuji?
Well, Matt Richards is driving exactly the same way. He's throwing that McLaren about, which means that obviously tyre wear is going to be an issue, given that Eunice is on the fresher set of tyres. He's got the confidence. I think we're setting ourselves for one heck of a final 20 minutes here.
Well, we're into 17 minutes and 48 seconds left to go on the clock here at Fuji International Speedway. Don't forget to vote for your DAF driver of the day. Email eTeam BRIT at teambrit.co.uk. You've got until 5 minutes on the clock remaining, so 12 and a half minutes remaining to put in your votes for DAF driver of the day. The email address should be on the respective narratives on any of the streams that you are all watching at home. And then that particular person will get a wonderful little DAF goodie bag, which has been won by several people this season. We've had 5 out of 5 DAF drivers of the day. We've had 2 winners in GT3. And I've just noticed that within the last 30 seconds or so here, David, that Jonas Raivio is starting to close the gap ever so slightly, but then it peters and swings in the pendulum towards the other side, reference Matt Richards. But Richards now knows that he has got to just put the hammer down and just try and keep away from Jonas Raivio, because the minute Raivio gets a sniff, he's going to be all over Matt Richards like a rash at the minute.
Yeah, and what you're going to find is that if that gap comes down to about 6 or 7 seconds to Matt Richards, Matt's going to start coming under pressure. He's going to be watching those deltas very, very carefully, and then the mind games start to come in, and who knows, that's when we could see some interesting little slip-ups from Matt Richards.
So 16 minutes and 20 seconds to go, and he kicked up a little bit of dust there with the left rear tyre, did Matt Richards. He's now going to try and get past Louis Stewart. Louis Stewart now 9.9 seconds behind Martin Buchan. But yeah, Matt Richards starting to pull away. But look at Raivio. That gap was about 11 seconds a few corners ago. It's now down to 9.5. Raivio is catching. And I think you are right here, David, that the way that he's coming across now, here is a replay here. This is one of the, oh, don't tell me this is Bradley Brockes and Max Spooner replay part 2. It is, and right, you're now going to see, oh, now, and that's when they spun off at Dunlop. So, yeah, very interesting to see it from a an in-cockpit view there. But coming back to Matt Richards, he is fighting that McLaren every single step of the way. He did admit when he was disappointed about the second place finish at Adria, he said, I don't really like Fuji. And you can tell it in his driving style. He's just wanting it to... He just wants the inevitable checkered flag to come out. So,
oh my, Alex, look, he's got 3 cars in front of him, Buchan, and 2 of the GT3s. I think that is Bradley Brockes and Daniel Hyde, and they are duking it out for position as well. So this could cost Matt quite dearly in terms of time.
Right, another on board, this time from Max Spooner at Team Texaco. Max is actually trying to go to the left, and Bradley Brockes has just hit the side of him. That's what it looks like. Okay, there wasn't much steering input from Bradley Brockes' car, but the car drifted to the left. So he had already committed to make that move up the inside. And here comes Matt Richards, speaking of which, with Bradley Brockes and Daniel Hyde battling over 7th position. But Richards now, he's trying to make hay whilst the going's good 14 minutes and 14 seconds still to go. Bradley Brockies goes around the outside of Daniel Hyde, heading in towards Daiichi, and manages to cover the inside line. Daniel Hyde trying to go up the inside of the eTeam BRIT driver. The pair are side by side through the corner. Oh, they bump panels. And as a result of that, Brockies runs wide. Matt Richards has really got to now keep it calm. He can't afford a mistake as Brockies trying to look up the inside of Hyde, going through Coca-Cola corner. Hyde runs wide. Richards goes past Brockies with absolutely no effort whatsoever. So, and the gap still 8 seconds now. Rivio is still closing, and I'm wondering if we're going to see him momentarily. Well, we've just broken away from the shot there, as Richards now trying to close in and get past Daniel Hyde. And this is to put a lap down on him. So they're going to come through 300R up into Dunlop. So Matt Richards trying to keep it nice and cool here. Dan Hyde actually exercises some good caution there. Gets out of the way of Matt Richards because he is the faster vehicle and decides, well, I've got my own battle to contend with. I'll let Matt get away and I'll just concentrate on what I need to do, the job that I've got in hand at the moment, which is battling away with Bradley Brockies for P7.
Yeah, that gap now 7.2 seconds between Matt Richards and Yunus Rivio. Oh my goodness me, this is setting itself up for an amazing, amazing finish. Matt Richards now, he's going to start feeling the pressure right now because he knows that Matt Richards is charging right now.
Yeah, don't forget, DAF Driver of the Day votes close in 7.5 time. Email us at eteambrit@teambrit.co.uk before we hit 5 minutes on the clock remaining, and Hyde and Brock at it, a pair of petulant children heading into Daiichi as Matt Richards goes through the corner. And in the meantime, Hyde's gone off. I didn't really catch the what happened there, but whether he's run wide as he's gone in a bit too hot. And there is Yunus Rivio. I just spotted him coming through Daiichi. And now
6.3 seconds, Alex.
And closing. I was going to say ground control to Major Rivio. I think someone's definitely closing in. That gap is coming down humongously at the moment. And you can just see how smooth and polished Yunus Rivio is at the moment. That's a really, really good job from the 33, the second super sub in a row, following the antics of Lewis McGlade last time out. Okay, here's a replay between Hyde and Brockies. So Brockies getting the run, goes towards the inside. Oh, that was nearly a sort of a Schumacher Barrichello-esque manoeuvre back a few years ago, and Hyde just goes straight on at Daiichi and he runs wide as a direct result. So no contact there. But Yunus Rivio, gap now under 5.8 seconds in the dying stages of this race. Oh, I sense the mushroom cloud at Mount Fuji will be exploding at any particular moment in time, because what he's got now, Yunus Rivio has got the advantage of a slipstream, courtesy of Daniel Hyde. He's going to use this as much as possible, as now they come across the start-finish line. Rivio towards the inside of Daniel Hyde there, as Bradley Brockies now goes into the pits. That might be for a default setting for a penalty.
Ben Hetherington comes on back at Daiichi at turn 1, right in front of Matt Richards at the worst possible time, and that's going to cost Matt Richards about 4/10 of a second there.
Yeah, gap now down to 4.9 seconds. I think it's about keeping it calm, keeping his nose out of trouble, and not letting the car get away from him. It is about smoothness. It is about precision. As Rivio just sweeps past Hetherington quite unceremoniously there, just sort of like goes, yep, there's a gap. I've got this one.
Oh,
so,
and Alex, if you can possibly get race control to show you a camera view of Matt Richards, the way he is trying to overdrive this car, this is all going to end in tears, mark my words. Well, your prediction is fast coming towards some sort of fruition, but yeah, Matt Richards, just see, he's using as much curb as he can to just try and get the car round the circuit, let alone trying to keep Yunus Rivio at bay. And I mean, you were spot on. The gap now, it's dipped under 4 seconds as they go onto the main straight. Yunus Rivio has Matt Richards in his crosshairs right now. Oh man, can you imagine the panic is being in Matt Richards' cockpit right now? How much pressure is he going to be feeling?
I don't know, and I don't really want to know what is in the mind of Matt Richards at the moment, apart from the fact, there is possibly a sense of sheer panic, a sense of, right, this is going to get difficult very, very soon. 4 minutes to go until the DAF driver of the day voting closes. Email us at eTeamBRIT@teambrit.co.uk for your DAF driver of the day. And that will be closing in around 3 3/4 minutes time. So you've got until, what is it? You got 9:07:30. 30 seconds to cast your votes. I'm not seeing any jump into but 3.5 minutes remaining on DAF driver of the day. Please get your votes in, because this is a public vote, as now that is Ross McGregor going up the inside of Ben Hetherington. Ross McGregor, I must be honest here, David, he's had a pretty good performance despite all the trials and tribulations he had very early on in this race.
Absolutely speechless to see him back up in 4th place, given how disastrous his first 2 laps were. Seeing him down in 7th or 8th place, he's just done so well to claw it back, and it just shows the strength that the Marl Watch Company racing drivers have in terms of their setup and the ability that they've got to kind of bounce off each other in terms of energy.
Yeah, well, I've just been sent a video by Anthony Jordan, reference what was going on. Jonas Rivio, gap now down to 3 seconds and closing. Oh my goodness me. Have you got your defibrillator standby here, David Christie?
No, I'm just ready to go out like this, my friend. This is how you want it. Just pure, unadulterated, raw racing action here from the virtual recreation of Fuji International Speedway.
Right, okay. Another vote in for DAF driver of the day. Keep them coming in. You've got, you know what I'm going to do? Again, I'm going to extend it right up until the finish line. So 0 and the checker flag waves for DAF driver of the day. So you've got 7 minutes. That's the beauty of having the sort of like the say on that, really, isn't it, David? That you can sort of like change your mind at a moment's notice. So we've had some votes in. We need a few more. You've got until the checkered flag falls with 0 on the clock, where we will then decide the DAF driver of the day. If it is an equal vote between 2 individuals, myself and David will make the casting vote. So you've got 6 minutes and 40 to do so. Jonas Rivio, between him and Matt Richards, look at that gap. It's going closer and closer, and you can see just how much Jonas Rivio is the Aston Martin. So they are both pushing like absolute madmen here around Fuji Speedway. And the good thing is that Rivio is not giving up. He senses that Matt Richards is a prime target, and with 6 1/4 minutes still to go on the clock, this is truly game on right now.
Yep, here we go with just, I would say, maybe about 3 laps left to go in the race there. The gap now just 2 seconds between Matt Richards and Jonas Rivio as they come on the run down turn 1 in towards Daiichi, and it is just a general slowness around the track. And I use that term quite sort of relatively, because Matt Richards is one of the fastest drivers that we've got in the championship, and the pair of them are dropping Chris Butcher. Chris Butcher in 3rd place is no slouch, and he's down 12.8 seconds behind.
Well, how's that for another chapter in the book that is being currently rewritten as we speak? 5.5 minutes. Matt Richards leads Jonas Rivio by just under 2 seconds as we come to the crescendo of what's been an enthralling round 6 of the eTeam BRIT GT3 Challenge and SYNETIQ BMW Series being held here at the virtual setting of Fuji International Speedway. There's Chris Butcher, 2nd in the championship, down in 3rd position at the moment. Ross McGregor a little bit further behind. He's currently 15 seconds off of the number 65 from IMB Vod Racing. 5 minutes to go until the voting for DAF driver of the day closes officially. So please email us at eTeamBRIT@teambrit.co.uk. We've had another one come in. So keep them coming in, ladies and gentlemen, please. eTeamBRIT@teambrit.co.uk. And now that was
Richards just hanging the back end of that car around Panasonic Corner there. I hope you get a replay of that, Alex. That was wild, and it just shows the absolute commitment that Matt Richards has got right now. That gap is going to be down to about 1.4 seconds.
Anyone got the Jaws music? Here comes Jonas Rivio. But yeah, I mean, hand on heart, Yunus Raivio, we were both excited when his entry when I got the okay, right, brilliant job by the broadcast director. Look, oh, it's trying to go Tokyo Drift on him. Well, actually, Fuji Drift, a la Martin Buchan, and he's just kept the throttle pinned, using the opposite lock to correct it. But Matt Richards, if he keeps on doing that over the next couple of laps, he is coming under fire. Gap now under 1.5 seconds. Oh, David, stone the Crows. I cannot believe what we are seeing. 3 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock still to go. And it is still very much anybody's guess who is going to win this race. And we've seen it with Raivio that he has got the measure of Richards. He knows how Richards is driving. He's watching. He's studying. He's putting all the pieces together. And he's calculating that strategy that could, when it happens, put him in the lead at the opportune moment at the right time completely.
Yeah, it's not the right time just yet. I think next lap he'll be lining himself up. That gap is going to be just about a second. Panasonic corner, he takes so much speed and so much time out of Matt Richards, and I think that'll be, 1.1, 1.2 seconds between the pair of them. But more importantly, that's just enough for Matt Richards to see that big hulking car of Yunus Raivio in the rear view mirrors. This is just intense stuff.
Right, 2 3/4 minutes left to go for both the checkered flag, also the DAF driver of the day here at round 6 at Fuji. Don't forget to email us at eTeam BRIT at teambrit.co.uk. 2.5 minutes on the clock to go. It is mano y mano. It is Warrior versus Warrior. It is Richards Raivio in the dying stages of round 6 here at Fuji. Can someone get me into a dark room and bring me my medication in a few moments' time, because I think I might need it.
Oh, trust me, you're going to need a little bit more than that, my friends, because Matt Richards now really struggling to get that car turned around, and they're going around the outside. Oh, and there's a mistake for Yunus Raivio. He went wide on the exit. I think that was 300R there, but he loses about half second. Oh my goodness me, that was so close with Ben Hetherington around the outside of the BMW, and he just makes that time up back instantly to first place there.
Yeah, and the gap now, it's getting closer and closer to being less than a second, as they now really are pushing quite hard.
More traffic. You've now got Max Spooner, and I think that is going to be it's Louis Stewart that Matt Richards is coming up, and that is going to be over the start-finish line.
Oh, this is what you don't want. Well, this is what Yunus Raivio definitely wants, because it means he gets a real chance now. We are effectively now going on to the final lap of this race. He's now flashing the lights at Matt Richards, as if to say, remember me? And he's also doing that to Louis Stewart. So he's going to get a run on Louis Stewart, and that is going to help him no end as Richards up the inside of Spooner through into Daiichi. It's about how quickly Raivio gets past the number 63. Max Spooner goes off the runoff and off on the grass as well. That allows Raivio to try and close up on Matt Richards. The gap is, I mean, if I'm honest here, David, Yunus Raivio has been pushing like crazy to try and get one up on Matt Richards. But Richards, I think, even though he's been driving that car like he absolutely stole it, a la Fast and Furious, he's been able to hang on. But Raivio, I think if he gets a real good run in the next couple of corners, he's possibly going to have an opportunity. But time is fast running out. They're going to come up to Dunlop for the final time. 17 seconds on the clock. Richards now needs to defend and survive. And as they say, to finish first you must finish. The timer now, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Through Zent corner they go. Timer has expired. One more turn for Matt T4 from Zansho Simsport. It's been a noble effort from Yunus Raivio as they come through Panasonic corner. But out of the final corner, he puts the throttle down to the floor. Matt Richards is going to storm his way and do a brilliant job. Let's see. Is the checkered flag being unfurled this time? I think he pretty much... This time around, it is Matt Richards from Zansho Simsport that takes the victory here at Fuji International Speedway. And the gap at the end of it all, David, was around about 0.6 of a second between him and Yunus Raivio. Here comes Chris Butcher. It's not quite a win, but third will still keep him in the hunt for the championship when we go to Dubai in just a week's time.
Wow. Alex, I need to go and take a lie down in a dark room after that one. That was just incredible stuff.
Funny enough, I am in a dark room because I forgot to switch the light
I
here.
need to get some water, so yeah, I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. But it is a clean sweep yet again. Martin Buchan in the SYNETIQ BMW Series is pretty much assured of the championship. It'll pretty much be confirmed at Dubai in just a week's time. But Martin Buchan, pole position, fastest lap, and the race victory, giving him a maximum score of 16 points. Louis Stewart will take 13 points as a result of this. And what's more, he now takes second in the championship here at Fuji Speedway. Sandro Ballesteros with the best result for him all season long, up into P5 at the end of the race. So he finished, and what a great job by him. Ross McGregor in P4. Here comes Bradley Brockies, who will round out the order for the 8-strong GT3 grid here at Fuji. Louis Stewart doing a brilliant job all the way through the race. He's still circulating. But wow, that was definitely fireworks aplenty in the land of the rising sun. And Fuji International Speedway has provided us with another classic this season. Wouldn't you agree, David?
Yeah, certainly would. What a race. What a race. I mean, I'm just stunned that it came down to the end like that. And we certainly had a shot across the bows for Matt Richards. And I think he was very, very lucky to get the win. Had there been maybe a lap or two more, I think it would have been very different.
Yes, so it is. I hate to say this, I was so looking forward to saying Yunus Ravio would be getting a bottle of gin, but that's not happening now because now it's in the hands of Matt Richards. Well, funnily enough, we've got our race director with us, Anthony Jordan. Anthony, thank you very much for jumping in to steer the ship, as it will, if you will. But just take us through your analysis of the incident between Bradley Brockies and Max Spooner that saw the pair sort of spinning off at Dunlop.
Well, the incident involving the number 63 Spooner and 105 of Brockies, sector 2 on lap 22, of course, it resulted in quite a large amount of contact. A decision was made to give the drive-through penalty to Brockies to see the telemetry data of left in the braking zone, causing the collision with Spooner. Now, I checked the telemetry data of Spooner as well. There was no detected telemetry data of him turning left or right at the time of contact. He was going completely straight, albeit at an angle, but he was going straight at the time of contact.
And obviously from being within the motorsport industry yourself, Anthony, what did you think of some of the battles that we've had on track this evening from your perspective?
The battles themselves, they were actually very good. There was some good, clean battles. There was a little bit of contact throughout. I did keep a very close eye on it. Some warnings were given out, but throughout, it was actually very clean and great racing that we saw throughout.
Fantastic. Anthony Jordan, our race director for this evening, thank you very much, and take care. Have a good rest of the weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Right, so I think we need to get some drivers in here. And I think we need to start with a particular driver that has now secured his third bottle of Copperfield London Dry Gin. But before we do that, there is a DAF Driver of the Day award. And when I tell you, David, that it is 66.6% of the votes, your DAF Driver of the Day didn't pick up the win, but he's got a DAF goodie bag coming his way. It's Yunus Ravio. So fantastic for him to get the DAF Driver of the Day. But let's get our race winner and still championship leader into the interview booth here. Let's get Matt Richards from Zansho Simsport. Matt, firstly, 3 wins apiece between you and Chris Butcher. You extend your lead in the championship going into Dubai in a week's time. Now, you admitted to me last week that Fuji isn't really my track, and we could see how difficult it was, because there were times when you're coming through Panasonic Corner, we saw on one of the replays that the back end was really stepping out. and it's quite a difficult circuit, especially in the 720S, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I'm not going to make any stupid comments. I think the cars were pretty level here. I thought it would sway a bit more towards the McLaren, if I'm honest, just because I thought a few of the quicker parts of the track might help it a little bit. But no, yeah, pace-wise, really close between me, Chris, and Jonas. And to be honest, I just knew I had to do something a little bit out of the usual, just to see if I could gain a bit of time. I knew those guys were probably going to go a little bit longer, and hope that it rained before this stop.
Yeah.
I thought if I go as long as them, I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same gap. I could still come out in second, because once Eunice got ahead of me clearly, that was it. He started pulling away quite a bit. So I just thought, I've got to do something a little bit strange. And yeah, it worked, luckily. I really thought that I'd made a mistake when I thought those guys were probably going to pit about 25, 26 minutes, maybe 24. But to see that they went as far as 21 minutes something left to go on the race, they did leave it really tight. I didn't think they were going to go that long. So I think that might have helped me a little bit, and almost not, because Eunice got very close at the end. So yeah, it's interesting race. Just happy to claw a few points back on Chris, and see where we can go from there.
And also, for your troubles, another bottle of Copperfield London Dry Gin will be heading to your locality. Have you sampled any of the product, if you don't mind me asking here?
Oh,
and,
yes, of course. Very nice. I can very much recommend it, but it's even better after winning it in a race, I can tell you that.
Well, there you go. You don't need champagne, you need Copperfield London Dry Gin, as vetoed by Zansho Simsport's Matt Richards. Matt, congratulations, well done. Look forward to seeing you at Dubai next week, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Right, okay. Let's speak to our third place driver in GT3. Let's speak to IMB Vod Racing's Chris Butcher. Evening, Chris. Not the race that I would probably say that you were looking for, finishing P3, but obviously I wanted to talk to you about the run going down to Coca-Cola Corner for the first time. It was a very, very difficult, you got a great jump on everybody, but then going into Coca-Cola Corner, we saw you hit the curb. It spat the back end of the BMW out, and you had to do some damage limitation here. How are you feeling? I know you're going to feel firstly disappointed.
Yeah, pretty annoyed. It was a bit of a silly, unforced error, to be honest with you. It's just pushing hard, because I knew I had to get a gap to Matt for the straight. Because the McLaren's so good in a straight line, but yeah, just took a bit too much curve and lost the car, and that was that, really.
I mean, obviously, this doesn't, the gap between you and Matt since Le Mans has been sort of ebbing and flowing to and from, and you had 17 points behind. You'd clawed a few back after Adria, which was a great race last time out, but you still got 2 rounds to go. Matt has been pretty competitive all the way through the season, as have you. I mean, we saw how much of a dogfight it was between you guys last week, and this week it could have been a completely different story. But looking at Eunice Rivio coming in for John Munro, that was very, very telling of how quickly one driver can come in and be on the pace pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Eunice is a quality driver, to be fair, and I'm just a little bit annoyed he didn't manage to catch Matt for the win, because that would have made my life a lot easier, I think. I think me and Matt would have taken equal points from this race with the pole and fastest lap for me, I think. So, yeah, disappointed. It's going to be tricky now. I'm not really sure how Dubai is going to fare for my car, but I know that Montreal is going to be a bit of a nightmare, because it's very bumpy and doesn't really suit my car very well. So we'll see, but it's going to be hard to claw that back now, I think.
Okay, well, Chris, like I say, all the very best of luck for Dubai and Montreal the last 2 rounds, and hopefully you might get a 4th win before the season's out. But have you been enjoying the Copperfield London Dry Gin as well? I know you've already received a couple of bottles. You should have hopefully received your 3rd very, very shortly, I think.
The 3rd one hasn't arrived yet, but I have to be honest, I've not actually tried it yet.
So Matt Richards has beaten you to the punch on that one as well. What's going on here, buddy? Well, I know you're very, very busy with commitments you've got as well, but all the very best of luck for Dubai next week. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and have a good weekend, Chris.
Cheers, you too, Alex.
Well, we'll bring one more of the GT3 drivers. We'll actually bring in the man I spoke to earlier on. Let's bring in Max Spooner from Team Texaco. Right, Max. Firstly, that's another top 5 finish for you, isn't it? Or is it top 6, I think, if memory serves me correctly?
I think it's top 6 unless somebody's in a lot of trouble that I don't know about.
Well, the good thing is that as a result of the clash between yourself and Bradley going into Dunlop on lap 22, he got a drive-through penalty as a result of the collision. But again, you seem to fly that car off of the start line like nobody's business, and you when we saw Chris Butcher spin through Coca-Cola corner on turn 3 at lap 1, you must have been licking your lips and thinking, oh, I've got an opportunity here. Maybe I could go for a podium. But the pace, obviously, with the damage that the Aston would have sustained as a result of the clash with Bradley, how did that affect the car sort of towards the latter stages of the race?
Didn't really affect it at all, to be fair. I mean, I was running it. I ran it very late, probably as late as I could. But even when the tyres were going off a bit, I was only about 6 tenths off my ultimate pace. So the pace was good in the car. I say it was good in the car. It wasn't quite to the pace that I would have liked it to be. I think, I should have been quicker than the eTeam BRIT cars today. But the Aston is very difficult on the back end, and so I have to usually load up the rear end on with aero, and it didn't really suit this track, I don't think. So I'll go away and I'll have a look back at the day to see what we could do to improve the car for the next round. Dubai coming up, it's a second I don't know that well, so a bit of homework to do for me, I think. Yeah, you need to put in a couple of late nights on that one, I think. But Max, congratulations on your top 6 finish, and we'll see you next week in Dubai. Looking forward to it already. Cheers, Max. Thanks, buddy. Right, well, as I've interviewed some GT3 drivers, I'm now going to hand over to good friend and partner in crime, David Christie, to speak to our SYNETIQ BMW drivers from the event at Fuji.
Excellent, thank you very much there, Alex. So let's bring in the BMWs, and first off then we've got Martin Buchan. Martin, good evening, and this is becoming a bit of a habit, this, isn't it?
Cheers, David. Konnichiwa, first of all. But
don't you start? I've got Alex as well every week with a foreign introduction. You're just showing me up here.
That's the only one I've got, though. Don't worry. I mean, Scottish and Scots people don't do foreign languages, do they? So
I can do that. All right, pal. How you doing, mate?
Aye, I've got to say that's.
So what was the race like for you? Because if we're being honest, it looks like Louis Stewart kept you fairly honest.
Aye, yeah, no, I mean that first stint, Louis was. I just couldn't shake him, to be honest. I wasn't trying or anything. I was giving it all the 100%, and I just kept looking at the gap. I was like, oh, it's just not going up. And then I think he caught the GT3 cars in bad places for him. That kind of opened the gap up a bit. And then when I got a track limits warning, it kind of settled me down a bit more, and I started driving a bit smoother, and then it just kind of opened up a bit more, and then just managed to get a gap to the stop, and thankfully it didn't rain, because I was not looking forward to that.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a fright in pre-practice and qualifying, but we noticed that you were a little bit exuberant in the driving of the BMW. Does that just come naturally with the way that the car's set up, or were you just pushing a little bit too much?
I think I was just pushing a bit too much, to be honest. It was, I wasn't happy with how I drove in the race. I mean, and it was just, I don't know. Maybe it's just the track as well. It's in the car, but yeah, I just wasn't driving 100% today, I think. But I mean, can't take away from Louis though. He still drove really well today.
And championship-wise, that makes a massive dent into your championship and essentially puts both hands onto that inaugural SYNETIQ BMW Championship.
Yep. Show me that test drive. Give me the keys. That's what I'm wanting.
Good stuff. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you next time out at Dubai, Martin. Congratulations on another race win, and enjoy your weekend, buddy.
Cheers, Dave. Have a good weekend, guys. Cheers.
So Louis Stewart is next on our interview hit list. Louis, a fantastic second place. Well done, buddy. And what was that like chasing Martin down?
Oh, it's great. It's nice having a car in front of me and something to aim for as well. I enjoyed, even though I didn't really go side by side, I enjoyed pretty much everything, but I just got scruffy towards the end, to be honest.
Obviously, that now puts you ahead of Christian Kelly to go second in the championship. That's it's not a bad day at the office.
No, after such a bad start to the season, to be honest, I didn't expect that, but it's a shame Christian hasn't made it to the last two races. I reckon if he was here today, I would have had a good battle with him, so hopefully he comes back, I don't know.
And finally, are you looking forward to the next round out at Dubai? Are you looking to maybe try and take your first win of the season?
Well, it'll be tough. I mean, Martin's qualifying pace is out of this world, honestly. But I don't know much about that track at all. Don't know where the lefts and the rights are. But hopefully, I've been on an upwards curve, so hopefully that doesn't level off.
Well, that's brilliant. You're doing our hot lap next week then, I've decided. Louis Stewart, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful weekend and we'll see you next time out.
Good weekend.
That leaves just one driver left to have a chat with, and going by his Discord name, I'm going to make the presumption that this is Ben Hetherington. Ben, a fantastic race for yourself tonight. Some more much needed points on the board, and tell us about that one.
Yeah, well, that race for me was just try and get to the end as quickly as possible. I know I'm not the fastest driver there, but just turn up at each race and do what I can.
And let's actually talk about that for a minute, because obviously you're a little bit different to the other drivers in the terms that you've got to use a controller. What does that mean for you in terms of the amount of stamina and the amount of effort you've got to put in to keep up the pace?
I need to put in a lot more effort than normal, because using the controller can be a lot more difficult. It requires a lot more precision.
Yeah, because obviously you don't have the same smooth inputs that you would have on a typical steering wheel. But either way, I mean, it's been a fantastic turnout for you this season, and you're in a strong shout of jumping into third place in the championship. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, can't wait.
Excellent, good stuff. Well, thank you very much, Ben Hetherington. Have a wonderful weekend, buddy, and we will see you next time out at Dubai. But that is us, Alex. We are done and dusted for the evening. Wow, what a weekend and what a race we've had tonight.
Well, we all get to do it in 7 days' time as the penultimate round beckons for the eTeam BRIT GT3 Challenge and SYNETIQ BMW Series, taking place at the infamous Dubai Autodrome. And what's more, it is the full configuration as per the Creventic 24 Hours of Dubai. But I leave you with this thought. If you thought this was a chapter that would rewrite the history books, watch out next time, because I'm sure there's a couple of surprises in store. Goodbye, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you for watching.
To allow us to be able to compete on a level playing field, we've had to use existing technology to create a set of hand controls that allow us to race on a level playing field. So if you imagine you're going to chicane at 150 miles an hour, our disabled drivers have to be able to go through the chicane at the same speed as the able-bodied driver. That means braking, steering, gear down, on the throttle, off the throttle, on the brake. Now, if we keep losing half a second or a few tenths of a second at every chicane, we might be the best driver on the track, but we can't be competitive. So that was the criteria that I gave the engineers, that if we can't do that, then we can't go racing. Al Locke he's the brains behind our team. He's our race engineer. I tell him what I want and how I want it. He says it's not possible, and I know it's possible because I believe in Al. The cost of the hand controls varies from about £5,000 to about £7,500. That's because we've managed to find a manufacturer in Slovenia that does all this specialist engineering. None of this would be possible without Al's British engineering.
The main thing that inspires me to keep going with Team BRIT is the quest for constant improvement. You know, we've developed a set of hand controls, and we're not a team that's going to rest on their laurels. We're constantly pushing for better and faster developments.